Oh, oh man, my back's been hurt all week. Let's see, what happened this week? It's been, oh, real.
And here we go. And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. It's orange!
145! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Look at this! Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
There's nothing to be igniting flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Hello, and welcome to this week's Flame Trench, NSF's informal news show where we talk about the explosions of the week. Right off the bat, hi, I'm Jack Beyer for NSF. We are NASASpaceflight.com. We're an independent news media organization. In case you are tuning in to this show for the first time, we do have a hard news show. It's like, just the facts. That's called This Week in Spaceflight. That is also on Fridays, typically after the Flame Trench. So if you don't want to hear us gab about what happened this week, you can watch that. But if you want to hear our takes and spiciness, welcome to the Flame Trench. As always, joining me, we have our ever-competent cohort of co-hosts. And this week is no different, starting off with EJ. Thanks for the cold open, EJ. I was chuckling.
Yeah.
I was chuckling.
Yeah, I got you. Did you guys see that, Jack? Did you see that it exploded? Did you see that?
Oh, I saw it with my own two eyes, my good guy, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about that in depth. Yeah, it's not
All right.
it's not good. It's not good. Not the end of the world, but not good.
It's fine. It's fine. It'll buff out.
It will quite literally buff out. Sawyer
It'll buff out.
is also on the show this week. Speaking of buff, just look at those guns. What's up, Sawyer? Yeah.
Wait till we go full screen. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which way's the beach?
Actually, it's that way. Legit, it's just a couple quarter mile down the road. Anyway, Jack, you and I had quite a night. That's for sure. The other night, and if it was COPV, it'd be igniting in the ship 36, right?
I don't even know how to respond to that. But yeah, I mean, elephant in the room. Obviously, Ship 36 exploded. We cover Starship a lot, so that's primarily what we're going to be talking about this week. If you have any questions, as usual, at NASA Spaceflight in chat, and we'll see your questions pop up. We're happy to answer whatever sort of thoughts you might have. A lot of good ones already in the queue. Also this week, Carson is operating the stream, so thank you to Carson for producing and pushing the buttons and pulling the levers in the background. But let's, I guess, jump right into it. Any like additional thoughts or information that's come out since the anomaly that we want to highlight? Any pet theories that we've seen online? EJ, I'll throw it to you first because I know you've been sort of I don't even know how to put it. You've been watching this footage a lot because that's what you do.
Oh yeah. No, it exploded. I mean, that's what. That's what happened. So it was on the test stand, and the explosion looked to come from the top of the vehicle, but I don't think that was like a combustion explosion, right? Like it's SpaceX has said that it's kind of the COPVs, but kind of not. We can get more into detail in that in a second, but yeah, no, it popped. Oh, it blew up big. Thankfully, they only had like 10% of the methane in there. From what I can tell from this, guys, and keep in mind, I'm not a chemist or a physicist or anything like that, but it looks like all the liquid oxygen that they were using for ballast in the LOX tank actually snuffed out a good deal of this fire. But it also made a really cool mushroom cloud too, which is pretty sweet. The bad news is that you doused your test stand in liquid oxygen. And liquid oxygen doesn't really blow up by itself. It makes other things blow up really, really good. And you doused the entire test stand with it, and it made the test stand blow up really good.
Yeah, liquid oxygen is really good at making things that you typically don't think of burn, like asphalt.
Yeah.
or various metals.
I was going to say, you could take a banana and submerge it in liquid oxygen. It'd be pretty good propellant at that point. You get potassium, oxygen. It'll do good things. Don't do this.
I wonder what kind of ISP you would get from a banana peel nozzle. Anyway,
we always talk about banana for scale, but never banana for thrust.
That's right.
Everyone always asks how big banana. No one ever asks how much thrust banana. Okay. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
I mean, oh gosh. The liquid oxygen spill, not great. The explosion, obviously not great. The damage to their test infrastructure, not great. I think in all of this, though, this is just my take. I think in all of this, though, the worst thing is the optics and the lost work hours. Those two. Like, yeah, they can rebuild Massey's, but looking not great on a world stage, not great. And then, of course, they put a lot of work into Ship 38, Ship 36. Its heat shield looked great. It looked like, barring any horrible issues, it would have done a good job in flight and hopefully through reentry. So that's a lot of lost work that they're just going to have to, once again, those poor heat shield teams just building yet another heat shield. But I don't know, Sawyer, what are your thoughts, like initial reactions sort of thing, and now that we've had a day or two to sort of process a little bit?
I mean, yeah, I talked ad nauseum about my thoughts for the 2 hours afterwards that we were on live, while trying to just comprehend everything and make sense of everything and figure out where we even go from here. I mean, obviously now that I've been able to stop and just watch it again, it looks honestly just as horrifying. I think this could have been so much worse with all of the tank farms that are there. It would have been worse if there was more methane loaded. Thankfully, they don't load that much methane to begin with for these type of tests, and then add in the fact that they weren't fully fueled yet, it seemed like. That helped, but just realizing the extent to which this could have not only damaged just the test stand there and some of the tanks, but all of the surrounding area, the crane, the 18.1, the can crusher, and just everything surrounding it. I feel like it would have been even worse and triggered more concerns and setbacks than what we saw. So this is bad. I'm not saying it's not bad. It is, but somehow it could have been worse.
I mean, Sawyer, if the methane tank was full, Massey's would be a huge crater. There would be nothing there. Like, you guys see that big cloud in the footage right there? Other way, it's over there. See that big cloud in the footage in the foreground? That's all the liquid oxygen that was in the LOX tank. So SpaceX fully fuels the liquid oxygen tank, or fully fills the liquid oxygen tank, and they only put a little bit of methane in there. You could see that all the methane combined with all the liquid oxygen, it made that big explosion, right? But when the main liquid oxygen tank popped, it made like a tidal wave of liquid oxygen. That's what that big cloud is in the foreground. That's not. Whoa! What was that? Did you hear that? Anyway, aliens. Not saying it was aliens, but it was. And if the methane tank had been full, it would have combined with all that liquid oxygen, and it would have made a much more energetic explosion. There would be no Massey's left. It would be a huge swimming pool, or just the river would have gotten a new harbor or something. So estuary. I agree with you, man. Yeah, yes, a new estuary. That is your vocab word of the day. This will be on the test. Anyway, I agree with you, man. It doesn't look great, but this could have been way worse. It could have been way, way worse. I personally don't really think that this is too bad. It's not that big of a setback in the grand scheme of things. But I don't know, Jack. What do you think? I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah,
Just build another one.
It's a big deal. I don't want to like give the appearance or the impression that I'm brushing it under the rug. I do think it's a huge deal, and it's a terrible, terrible bad look. Like it's not good. That said, if you've been a long time watcher of this channel, you've probably heard me yell the words Mars 2030 many times, despite there not really being a transfer window in 2030. It's kind of like 29 anyways. I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot because I saw this thing frickin' explode before my eyes, and that makes an impression on you. And I still think 2030 or 2029 in that time frame for sending stuff to Mars on Starship is plausible. I think in the long run, like you're saying, EJ, I do agree that this is a speed bump and they can rebuild. But I mean, undeniably, optics are terrible, and undeniably, it's a setback. I mean,
Now,
given
Jack,
where we're at with version 2 of the ship, which for the record I don't think is like cursed or anything or inherently a flawed design. I think this is just unfortunate. But given where we're at, we should be deploying Starlinks already. Like remember what like 2-3 years ago when Gwen Shotwell said that if they take longer with Starship to be launching humans than they did with Dragon, that's a quote major company fail. Like undeniably bad. End of the world? No. Is the sky falling? No. Am I running around like Chicken Little? No. But undeniably super not good. But the program will pick up the pieces and move on. Not the end of the world. That's my thinking. I don't know. Sorry, I sort of steamrolled you there for a second.
No, it's all good. I mean, you say the optics don't look good, and certainly they don't look good to you and I mean, as outside viewers, and certainly to people that don't understand what the Starship program is about. But you say the optics don't look good. Why does that matter? Honest question. Why does it matter? If we don't think it's a good thing, that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Elon said just a scratch. He said it's not a big deal. His opinion of this certainly matters. He has a lot.
I mean, but what is he? He's also the CEO. Like, what is he realistically going to say? Like, this sucks. Like, no, he's not going to say that.
He would no. If something was really bad, he would have been like, "Oh, this is a major setback" or something. He's been pretty straightforward about this stuff. I mean, he doesn't slow roll it by any means, right?
I mean,
so you say the optics are bad. Who are they bad to? Who are they bad towards? NASA?
No. I just think, like, as a public figure or owner of a company, you generally don't. I don't know. You generally don't admit when things are bad. You put a little bit of spin on it, and that's like what management speak is. That's just like how that stuff works. It's like just a scratch.
Elon
of course,
strike you honestly as a management speaking type person.
Not in general, but he is a master of PR. Like that's undeniable. In like the same way that Steve Jobs could sell you a ketchup popsicle while you're wearing a white suit, I imagine Elon is the same way. Yeah, no, I knew you would like that. No, it's got to be your popsicle.
No, wait,
but
what?
but no, like
forest.
I think first and foremost, he like one of his talents is managing PR, and that's part of the reason why we all so readily espouse the idea that this is an iterative program and this is a long-term thing, and this is why you test. It's like all of this stuff, it comes from a place, and it comes from a person that's generally really good at PR, or at one point was.
I mean, I get what you're saying with that, but I guess also the fact they waited till they said everyone was safe, no one was injured, and all of that, to then go just a scratch. I get he's trying to play the lighthearted side of it. If anyone reads that as anything other than it's actually pretty bad, I would be surprised. Because sure, they joke just a scratch, but that's like saying, yeah, I stubbed my toe, that's why I don't use my feet right now. At least from a personal perspective. But you know what I mean? It's just, I get he's playing it off as if it wasn't that much, but we all know it's like Monty Python, just a flesh wound.
Right. And honestly, I agree. Like, that's sort of one of the frustrating things about this is Oh, geez. I don't know how far down this rabbit hole I should go. In the last 2 days since the explosion, driving around Starbase, I have seen, I could not tell you, probably 10 plus different news crews in their little car with their logo on it, with a camera set up on a tripod, and there's some reporter with a thing and a mic flag, and they're doing the stand up in front of Starbase or in front of Massey's. And it's like, yeah, you all turn up when there's a failure. Let's see how many of you stick around when they're having successes. It's really unfortunate about this, because that's what I mean about the optics looking bad, because now all of the people that want to pile on and just revel in the bad news, that we just fed the sharks a whole bunch of chum. And it's like, you see news articles that are like, oh, it blew up on the launch pad, and it's like, it's not even close to the launch pad.
Yeah,
no, they
7 miles
definitely,
away.
they definitely messed up there. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make, dudes, is that, yeah, okay, the news is going to run with it. They're going to be, another SpaceX rocket blew up. They're going to run with the story. Sorry, from journalism perspective, it's a big story. It's a juicy piece. Oh, this multi-bajillion-dollar thing blew up. It's the richest guys in the world rocket, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll be honest, and yeah, those things might influence somebody's opinion negatively towards SpaceX. And you know what my honest to God answer to that is who cares?
I do.
What are
Because
they gonna do?
I genuinely feel like to get to Mars, it's going to take a civilizational level of effort. Like, I don't think we can do it with just one company or just one nation. I would ideally like to see all of humanity collectively head out into the stars. And if we do this sort of thing where people are like, no, it's bad, why are we even doing that, and we feed them these easy wins, it's not even a win. I don't know. I'm being a worrywart, EJ. I think generally you're right. Like, it's all noise, but it's frustrating when something like this happens, and it can be so incredibly misconstrued. I mean,
that's why we're in business, man.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Why, right, but here's the thing. We're in business, sure. We have, 1.4 million subscribers here. There's 8 billion plus people on this planet. There's 300,000 plus people, or 300 million plus people in the United States alone. We can only reach so many people with our specific thing that we do. So when you're hearing this on the news, I mean, from a news perspective, I see that video. It is spectacular. It is something that I can tease. I will run it in all my teasers. I will write about the big explosion, find out what we know after the break, all of that. Then you get the people commenting. And again, I'm not trying to make this political in any way. I just want to point out that the comments, all of it were, well, there goes our tax dollars. Well, another one of Elon's follies blowing up, not realizing the impact that this would have on all humanity. And also, sure, Elon's name is on the company, but he's not the one that built that rocket. He's not the one that added every individual tile, that helped mold all of the pressure tanks, that added the COPVs, that ran the test. There are so many more people behind this. He is such a small speck in all of this, and I really feel for the engineers that have worked their butts off for this, and this is now how it's being publicly portrayed, and it appears bad on them.
Yeah, that's a really valid point, Sawyer. Just like, it takes thousands and thousands of people at SpaceX all working their butts off, often in the prime of their lives, in the prime of their working potential, putting in extraordinary hours, forsaking free time, forsaking their families, forsaking all other things except for the mission of getting this thing built. And it's a lot of hard work, and they're going to continue to crank away, but you can't help but feel empathy for those people at a time like this, especially when you would hope your fellow humans out there wouldn't just like revel in an unfortunate thing that affects a lot of people, and indeed all of us on this planet, just because they don't care for certain individuals. Like, can we be bigger than that, please? I would hope so. Hey, I'll get off my soapbox. Let's do some questions. Let's talk some more about what happened. Maybe go into more detail about what we think may have happened. But first,
you're not just on that box to match Gene's height again.
So I gotta go.
Shout out to
Sawyer.
Carson in the back channel for that one.
Sawyer, if you want to run support, you can, man. I'm out of here. No, I'm kidding. For real, though, we cannot do this without y'all's support. There's no way we would have had the resources we had out there for this event. I mean, I was out there, D was out there, Jerry was out there, Caesar was out there. Like, the whole team was out in force, and there's the only reason that we were able to have so many cameras and so many people devoted to the static fire, and as a result have the good footage that we did, is because y'all come out and watch our stuff and support what we do. So been, where, done what? Thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Mike Alpha Tango Sierra, that's Matt's, gifting 50 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much, Matt's. Always see your name pop up with huge amounts of support. If you guys don't know, membership program exists. There's different levels of support. You get different perks at the different levels, including Discord access at Capcom level and above. And there is a pre-show and post-show that you get with access to that Discord, plus a whole bunch of other awesome stuff in there. Space Pope, thank you for the super chat there, and every week, so much support, and for hanging out in the Discord as well. UK Hudson, thank you for the super chat there. They say, Jack, your professionalism hit a whole new level. Thank you. I don't feel that way, but thank you. Ship 36 explodes, and you were worried about camera exposure settings. What were you thinking? Did you not know the ship was going to explode? Of course I didn't. Of course I didn't know it was going to explode. Honestly, I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to get like a pity party going or anything here. I feel dumb. I know better. I should have been rolling, and I should have been set to auto exposure, but the highest ISO settings in my camera are available in a manual mode because I limit the auto ISO in different modes so that I can get a time lapse and it'll ramp nice but not go gross with the grain. Anyway, I was in manual mode and maxed out on my ISO and maxed out on my shutters, so that's why it looked terrible. I know better. Luckily, I was close to my camera and rapidly adjusted it, but that's not good. Thankfully,
What?
D and Jerry got a really great shot, and I forget who was producing. Was that Kevin that was producing? Kevin cut rapidly, so masked the mistake a little bit.
Here's the thing with that, though. I mean, of course, you were preparing for the best views for the viewers. At that point, it was dark. We knew the static fire was going to be happening soon-ish, considering that we saw the prop load underway. But knowing when it would get closer, that's when you drop the exposure and things. Otherwise, viewers would have no just static view of the pad for us to talk about. We're not out there knowing that this thing is going to blow up. You're out there providing the best view possible, and you acted as quick as you could when I hit the detonator. I mean, anyway, when it exploded. So.
No, you're right. Like, the reason the camera was set that way was so that we could see the leeward side of the ship as best as possible and see what sort of prop load we had on the ship. So it goes. Anyways, thank you, UK Hudson, for the kind words. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh God, my whole frame is white. I look like a clown. But there you go.
It added more drama to it, not necessarily in a good way, but it added the drama of, holy cow, that was bright. This is not a static fire.
I'll take it. That's why we have a team. Is sometimes you don't get it right, and D and Jerry absolutely got it right, as well as Caesar. So Blake Alexander getting it right every stream with a 20 Red Team gift membership there. If you got a gift from anybody, including Blake, be sure to thank him. Phil also gifting a Red Team. Chromatic gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you. Isabel Inc. Thanks for the super. They say, I blame Ship 26 for Ship 36's explosion.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
We're in agreement.
Okay.
It's the
been
curse
decided.
of the six.
It's been decided. Craig Harkins chiming in as well, saying at least Ship 26 didn't blow up. Craig, thank you for the super chat. Carson with the buzzer. Thanks, Carson.
It should have been 26 that did this, not 36.
It should have been 26. Space Nerd, thank you for the support. And let's jump into questions. How about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Man, what a crazy thing to have happened. Gene is asking, are all Starship COPVs suspect? I guess right off the bat, a COPV is a composite overwrapped pressure vessel. We should probably say that. It looks like I just got rid of I think I just deleted the question by accident. Well, are all composite overwrapped pressure vessels suspect? Is it still there?
Yeah, it doesn't delete it in the queue.
Well, I can't find it. I'm an idiot. What do we think about the COPVs on the ship? That's what I believe, was it an Elon tweet, or was it in the SpaceX statement, or both?
I'm using both of them.
That's
SpaceX statement.
So let me step back a second. In the nose cone of the ship, in that void space, it's not just wide open and empty. There's header tanks in the tip of the nose cone, if you didn't know that, and there's also a whole bunch of COPVs sort of arranged in a ring around the tapered portion of the nose cone. If you have watched our Starbase summaries, I believe in the last month or two, we caught that sort of assembly jig where all of the COPVs were assembled and welded into a jig, and then they lift the nose cone on top of that and then weld that assembly inside the inside of the nose cone. Those COPVs hold things like nitrogen, presumably also helium in some of them, basically gases that they use for different operations and different processes on the ship. So seems like from that Elon tweet and from the SpaceX statement that one of those COPVs in the nose cone had an energetic event of some kind.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Do we think that means that all COPVs are now suspect? I mean, certainly SpaceX is going to check the provenance of every single one they have on every vehicle and at the factory and whatnot. But are you? What is your thought, EJ? Are you like get rid of all COPVs, or is this just a sort of a, if that even was the cause, a unfortunate fluke?
Well, I mean, I do think it was an unfortunate fluke. You said it a little bit earlier. I don't think this is really a problem with the V2 ship design. This is something else. First thing SpaceX got to do is conduct what's called a fault tree analysis, guys. All right. So what happens when you do that? A fault tree analysis is basically eliminating possibles. Do you figure out, you do deductive reasoning and you eliminate possibles to figure out, basically it's troubleshooting. It's troubleshooting to figure out why it failed. It's hard to troubleshoot a vehicle when it's in pieces and some of it is in Mexico and some of it's in the river and some of it's in the flame trench and some of it, hey, he said the thing, some of it's over there, some of it's sitting, I think some of the aft dome is sitting over there on the methane recondenser, a couple hundred feet away. It's tough to do troubleshooting because it's hard to figure out what popped, if the COPV popped, right? Or if it was something else in the ship. It's really tough to diagnose it, right? Because there was an initial explosion and then the ship exploded. What damage was done to the ship from that big explosion as opposed to the one at the beginning? Now, Jack, you're talking like, should we examine all the COPVs? Well, I would. But here's the thing about composite overwrap pressure vessels. They are very finicky. They're very prone to stress cracks and stress fractures because the tolerances on those things aren't very high. That's not really the right way to say it. It's very easy for a COPV to become embrittled. Dude, this thing could have been transported in a truck going down Highway 4. They could have hit a pothole, and that would have been enough to stress it out, to break it. COPVs are super delicate. They, like, if you hit one with a hammer, like I wouldn't, don't ever do that, but that would be enough. Like even just dropping something on it could potentially screw it up. You could put a stress crack in the fibers or even a stress crack in the tank. And if you do that, that's game over. And the thing about it is that you're not going to be able to see it either. So I would say maybe check the COPVs, check the batch number, because the factory makes these things in batches. They make it with a batch of carbon fiber and a batch of metal to make the tanks, right? Check the sequence number on it, cross-reference that against other COPVs, check to see if the other COPVs do the same thing. If they don't, and they all pressurize correctly from the same batch of COPVs ordered, well, you can rule that out. You could rule the factory that made these composite overwrap pressure vessels. You can rule that out because SpaceX doesn't make those, as far as I can tell. They're made by a specialized manufacturer. Yeah, Luxfer, I think it is. I forget. So you'd have to test it against the other ones in sequence. If the other ones do the same thing, well then, yeah, you got a bad batch of COPVs. That does happen. It happens. But here's the thing. No matter if you got a bad batch or if it was mishandled during integration in assembly, or if it was mishandled during shipping like Cygnus was, somebody may have dropped it. It's not the first time someone's dropped spaceflight hardware and said like, no, it's good. And then they go to fly it and it wasn't good, right? That's not the first time this has happened, right? Either way, it's a QC problem. Because even if you're not QCing your tanks right before you put them in the vehicle, what do you do? Like if you're not testing them, like you'd have to X-ray the tank to see if there's any stress fractures in it. That's the only way you're going to figure it out.
Can you even X-ray a COPV? Because it's a metal liner, right? Would the X-rays just bounce off the metal liner? I don't know how X-rays work.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to. I mean, I don't know if they're using X-rays for COPVs. It might be something else.
But to your point though, like composites like that are notoriously hard to inspect. I mean, just look at the submarine thing. I don't even want to say the name.
That's so funny. Fun fact: carbon fiber also has a shelf life. It expires. You have to wind it. If you leave it on the shelf in a spool before you wind it, it has a shelf life. That also could be at play here. And once again, the batch numbers you'd be able to figure that out with the batch numbers. But either way, I think this, dude. I think whatever happened with this ship, whatever happened with the COPVs, I would test the other ones. You obviously got to test them, right? And I'd be wondering what like the process is for handling COPVs around Starbase and the Star Factory and stuff. Because this could, dude, I'm telling you, this could be something as simple as someone dropping something. So chat did ask me about other cases when this has happened. So a Delta II rocket launching the GPS, I think it was GPS 2A or something, in 1997. It launched on a Delta II rocket. Someone dropped the SRB and cracked the casing. It didn't show up. You can't really see it. It was a microscopic crack, but that microscopic crack was enough to turn the SRB into a firecracker. So shortly after ignition, it turned into a firecracker and blew the bottom of the rocket off completely and proceeded to rain thermite down on the Cape.
Well, that was bad.
One of the most famous videos out there of a rocket explosion.
Yep. Oh, we've had an anomaly. You got to secure the area?
Is that the one where the guy's car got roasted and his insurance didn't believe him? Because
SRB landed on the guy's truck, and that was the end of that.
So that
Cygnus got dropped the other day, dude. And then in the Apollo program, somebody dropped the oxygen tank that ended up going in the CSM. They dropped the oxygen tank and cracked Apollo 13. They dropped it. Right? Yeah, I know. It's weird. What mission? They dropped it and it caused a crack in the Teflon seal. So when you energized it, you basically blew it up. It basically turned into a firework again. This is not the first time this has happened.
Right.
I'm telling you, like, I think SpaceX is on with COPVs. I think that's right. From the footage that we saw, it definitely looks like it. You see a massive depressurization, but you don't see any ignition. Now, a depress could be from the header tanks or something else, but that much depressurizing that fast, it looks like I'm saying it points to the COPV because the place of failure is definitely where the COPVs are inside of Starship's proverbial payload bay, right?
Right. You can see that jig we were talking about, that sort of installation jig. There's four or five COPVs arranged. They were in the process. You can see on the left side of the frame there, in between the structural columns for the Star Factory, there's like that other red stripe. That's one they're lifting into position on this jig as well in this shot. The COPVs are kind of wrapped in little protective jackets in this. They're normally black. The red is a little
because you don't want to bump them.
Right, exactly. So that is pretty much exactly where they are in the nose cone. And you have pointed out, EJ, one potential failure mode, which is, they were incorrectly manufactured or incorrectly handled. So those would be possible failure modes, right? There's also the possible failure mode of the COPV was fine, but it was incorrectly tested. Like maybe they had an errant line of code in the testing thing, and they overfilled the header tank, which caused a water hammer in the transfer tube, which was right there by the COPV, which ruptured the COPV. Stop it, Sawyer. So I do think it's worth pointing out, like, it totally could have been an issue with the COPV itself, the way it was constructed, the way it was handled. Could have also been an issue with the way that COPV was involved in whatever test they were doing, because they were also moving an aft flap, or the forward flaps. They were testing the forward flaps basically at the exact moment the anomaly occurred. Now, those are electric, right?
Boogie woogie.
I don't think that.
Nice.
Sorry. Keep going. They're electric, so it's not going to mess with the COPV. They're not pneumatically actuated, right?
But the timing is still interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if at the same point in the testing flow that they're doing those forward flap tests, they're also doing things like finishing uploading the header tanks or pressing the COPV tanks to flight pressure or what have you. But there's a thing. I'm a bit of a fan of engineering disasters. I consume that sort of media obsessively. If there's some sort of building collapse or nuclear disaster or whatever it is, I know about it because I'm a nerd, and that's one of the things I'm interested in, along with rockets and planes and all that stuff. There's a thing called the Swiss cheese model of disasters or of accidents, and the Swiss cheese model basically says, think of Swiss cheese. It's got a lot of holes, and normally, if it wasn't Swiss cheese, maybe there's like one hole, and you get hit by the second barrier. But for an accident to happen, there has to be multiple situations or multiple pieces of cheese, I guess, that multiple problems. So maybe it wasn't any one of the things that we've been speculating about, but a combination of them. Maybe the COPV was jostled and would have been fine, but they had some sort of extra aggressive test loading thing where they're like, let's load the COPVs extra fast on this one. And one of those COPVs got a bump, and normally it would have been fine, and it was fine for the single engine static fire 2 days beforehand. It was fine. But maybe they didn't load it the same way. Maybe it's something like that.
This.
It's Cheese's fault. I love Cheese. I'm sorry, Cheese. I never meant to slander you.
But here's the other question, and I think I know the answer to this, and I'm sure some people have to have been thinking about this. The fact that this is not the only vehicle that has COPVs. Of course, Starship has it. Falcon 9, if you remember back to 1058, as it was being brought back to port following its failed landing, you could see them lifting one of the COPVs that was inside of it back onto port. From my understanding, there's not commonality between the two, correct? So this should not impact the COPVs that are currently on Falcon, or
correct.
Is that something that now needs to be looked at on Falcon just in case?
There's not commonality per that SpaceX statement that Carson's highlighting right there. So no commonality. But I just again accidentally deleted the question here from Owen asking, how would a COPV cause an explosion? And you're kind of pulling that thread, Sawyer. Like, we have seen. I mean, everyone that's been around for a little while remembers the Amos 6 explosion, and that was caused by a strut fracturing in the liquid oxygen. It was liquid oxygen tank, right?
Yes.
The strut was not manufactured to spec. So going to what EJ was saying, it was an issue with the part from the manufacturer, but also SpaceX, I believe, hadn't tested the part because they assumed the manufacturer was giving them the thing that they wanted. Alex said no in the back channel. Let's see what Alex says. Either way, a COPV was liberated inside. Oh, Alex is saying it's CRS-7. Right.
Yeah, the one that was the upper stage with that was CRS-7 mid-flight.
Right. Sorry, Amos 6 was solid oxygen in the COPV overwrap. Oh, COPVs. They're so fun and delightful.
So CRS-7, though, that was an attachment point to the COPV. So again, a COPV, but not the COPV itself.
Right. But when you let go of a COPV inside the liquid oxygen tank, it can then go off and do bad things. I mean, we don't know that a COPV failed and was the cause, or if the COPV being liberated and then making the whole thing unzip, presumably, was a result of something else, like a header tank transfer tube line or something going wee, or maybe they welded the frickin' header tank in stupidly and it cracked because it was cold and fell onto, I don't know. I'm crazy speculation mode at this point, but we don't know more at this point other than what we can see and what SpaceX has said. And here's that Elon quote. I can talk. Preliminary data suggests
today, Junior,
that a nitrogen COPV in the payload bay failed below its proof pressure. If further investigation confirms this is what happened, it's the first time ever for this design.
Yeah, see, this
is
right
a shot
there
of the nose cone where the COPVs are. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, really nice, Carson, down there. You see them over there?
You can also
That's
see
pretty much the
two transfer tubes in between the two clusters of COPVs.
Yep. That's pretty much right where we saw Ship 36 decide it wanted to join the Shadow Realm.
Right.
That's pretty much right where it happened, right down there.
Oh man.
So with that with that Elon thing, sorry, real quick. With the Elon thing, further investigation confirms that this is what happened. It's the first time ever for that design. That's what I mean. They've been using these bottles. If they're using that same type of COPV bottle design, they're called bottles, guys. That's what they call them. At least that's what I've been told.
Yep.
Right. If they've been using this same type of bottle design for Starship for a long time, I would really be hesitant to see that, is that a manufacturing defect? That's unlikely, right? Because none of them have ever caused this problem before. That's why my gut's telling me mishandling of the COPV. But once again, here's the thing: with COPVs, you get micro cracks in them. You cannot see them. You will not see it. Like, it could just be somebody leaning up against it. You could just have somebody leaning on it, or if somebody had the SCOPV inside of a box on the forklift and they let the forklift down too much. That's enough. That could be enough.
Yeah.
To crack one of these things.
Absolutely.
So that's based off of what Elon said there, based off of what I see with the explosion. And once again, this isn't to disparage anybody that works at Starbase. I mean, you guys do a better job than I ever could. Chat's seen my welds. I'm not good at this.
So have I.
Just last week.
Yeah,
man.
I'm not good at this, but I don't think somebody dropped it and was like, oh, no, we got to go. There's schedule pressure. You wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know. And I think it speaks to a bigger thing. They're trying to build these ships while a factory is being built around them.
I have to point out, though, I think it was Alex. I'm taking credit for Alex's brain here, but 36, if I'm not mistaken, was the first Starship built entirely within the factory and not in the tents. No components of it built in tents. Have you seen the memes where it's Chad tent built Starship survives re-entry, baby fat. It's just come on, man, you were built in a factory. You're supposed to be better. But you're not wrong. They've been building the factory around this thing while they build it, which is just wild.
Maybe the process for putting those COPVs in is different. Maybe it's obviously going to be different because it's inside. Maybe it's the first time using that jig, and maybe somebody didn't use it right, or maybe somebody bonked it, or maybe the jig needs to be fixed. There's a lot of this could be a lot of things. It doesn't take much to break a COPV. It really does not take a lot.
Have you seen the? I think it's an ex-SpaceX employee that's been tweeting of late, including before the explosion.
Yes.
About process issues at Starbase.
Yeah, that's the other thing I kind of can't.
Does that
can't
color
your
your read a little bit in terms of where you're coming from with your thinking, EJ?
Well, I read it when the guy posted that. I read it when he posted it before. There's a ex SpaceX employee, guys, that basically said that COPV handling is no good.
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, he said it way before Ship 36, and guys saying that people don't handle COPVs correctly there, and then SpaceX has a COPV failure. Maybe that's too thin to go off of, but also, I mean, Occam's razor, right? You're in a factory. This is a new factory. They're building ships while the factory is being built around them. Stuff gets mixed up. There's a lot of stuff going on. They're trying to ramp up. You have a lot of new hires, right? SpaceX is hiring rampant like crazy at Star Factory because they're trying to mass produce these things. You got new personnel, you got new factory. It's not the tent days anymore, like the guy said.
Well, and sort of playing off of that a little bit, any workplace has a culture, right? And there's subcultures, just like a college or a high school or any other a club. There is a culture within the organization, and there are subcultures within different parts of the organization, including different locations. And I could totally understand the idea or the supposition that perhaps there was a culture in Starbase of build it in tents, get it done, go, go, go. And we're transitioning over the last couple of years to a bona fide space program with rockets that needed to deploy payloads and function properly. Not that they didn't need to function properly before, but less prototypey, I guess I could say. And that there's a clash between those two cultures. I mean, it's not even just new hires, EJ. I think a lot of it is too. SpaceX reallocating workers from other parts of the company to go all in on Starbase. I mean, I think Randor in chat says clicks even. Absolutely. That is absolutely, I can tell you, a thing at any organization. But yeah, it's not just new hires, it's also people from other parts of the company coming in. Like, what if you're a Starbase worker and an engineer from Florida comes in and starts telling you how to do your job, and you're like, buddy, I've been here for 4 years doing this. You don't know how we do things here. That's either way. Like, if I'm gonna silver lining this, which I'm not really, I don't feel the need to, but just to look at it with a level head, the culture of the organization will change as a result of this incident, in the same way that the culture of the organization will change as the result of a success. And,
But-
hopefully it changes for the better.
I mean, at the same time, though, you can do your work in a tent, you can do your work in an office building. That's not going to change the culture just by changing buildings. Sure, there may be a slightly different culture at Hawthorne than there is at the Cape, than there is at Starbase versus McGregor, but it's still the full company mentality. I don't think this, just because you have people moving there to put more people on this, that it's, oh, we have more people, so now we don't have to rush. SpaceX is definitely, in my opinion, been always about get it done and get it done fast. Did it blow up? Well, we'll fix it. Did this happen? Sure, we'll get back to it. Alex pointed out in the back channel earlier, you had CRS-7 in 2015, Amos 6 in 2016, and 4 years later, you had Demo 2, which was launching the first crew from U.S. soil since the end of the shuttle program. They are always about going fast. They are still going to go fast. But I don't think just because you're bringing in more people from slightly different places. I mean, we know there's people that have been moving there from headquarters. We know there's been people that have moving from the Cape, all to help focus on improving Starship. We've seen the leadership move to Starbase there. But you can only change a culture so much. I hope that there is a slight change from this, but even just a couple weeks ago, the three of us were talking about the whole, maybe they'll just fly the next ones for the next 3-4 weeks each time they'll do it, just to get rid of hardware. I don't think this was how they intended to get rid of that hardware.
Oh, certainly not. I do have to wonder, like, oh man, can you imagine if they hadn't static fired this thing?
Yeah.
If this had happened on the pad? I mean, talking about how this could have been worse. It could have been worse if it was at Massey's with a bigger fuel load, of course. Imagine if this had been a full stack. Like, I said this on the stream. I said this in the pre-show. I'll say it again. At no point during the explosion or during the anomaly or whatever you want to call it, at no point did I feel unsafe. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, I'm a big, brave man. Like, I just didn't feel unsafe at any point. If the plume had been coming towards me instead of perpendicular to my location, I would have gotten out of there and I would have not felt safe. And I don't even know that there's anything necessarily super bad in the plume. That's just, I prefer to not breathe smoke in general.
That's fair.
So, but I really do mean that. Like, there's a keep out zone for a reason. It's a test location that you can't get close to when they're doing hazardous stuff for a reason. And at no point did I feel unsafe. Boy, howdy. If that had been a full stack, like with a full fuel load,
You'd be deaf right now.
that would have been not good. But I also wouldn't have been a mile away, EJ. I would have been like 3 or 4. Still wouldn't have been good. Don't get me wrong. And also worth pointing out, I don't think we've explicitly said it on the show so far. It was really more of a pop, right? Like the thing shredded. The thing shredded. Liquid oxygen and methane mixed and burned. I believe the technical term for that is a deflagration. Like I had first, even at the time, that was like I had thought it had detonated. I might have even said detonated on stream, on the actual live stream of the test. But yeah, it some methane and oxygen burned. Like you said, EJ, I think most of it got snuffed out by its own oxidizer.
Blocks, man. If anything, it pulls the heat out of the fire. Like,
right.
Yeah. There was no shockwave. That's the big thing that people forget. So when we're talking about something, well, it's this going faster than the speed of sound. Is the
I would-
fire front has
Yeah.
to be moving faster than the speed of sound for it to be considered a detonation. If it's going slower than the speed of sound, then you get the deflagration. So think the big explosion that we saw at the base of Booster 7 versus this.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the shockwave at the base of Booster 7. That
That's
said,
kind of what I meant with shockwave, yeah.
totally. What I will say is, anytime something like this happens, or there's a launch or what have you, or a static fire, when I'm going through the Border Patrol checkpoint and leaving Starbase, I like to chat up the Border Patrol guys. I don't know, I'm an idiot. I get it from my dad. My dad's not an idiot. I love you, Dad. I'm an idiot. Anyway, I chat up the Border Patrol guys. Don't worry about it, EJ. I chat up. And so I was talking to him. I was like, "Hey, did you guys see the explosion? Like, how was that from over here?" And the dude told me, "We were all inside our little, mobile home kind of structure that they all sit in right there at the checkpoint." He said, "We were all inside, and we thought a car had hit the building. So we all ran outside, ready to deal with a car having hit the building, and we saw the fireball, and it took us a couple seconds, and we realized what it was." So people felt it. Like supersonic shockwave or not, people a good distance away took note.
Yeah, and also, I think it's worth noting, because the image that we had earlier showing where the COPVs are, I think that also kind of explains why we saw things ignite the way we did. Because sure, you've got the COPVs and all the stuff at the top, where you've got the header tanks for the LOX and the methane, but then you've got an empty space. You've got the payload bay. You've got where the Pez dispenser is. You've got the door that for the first time finally successfully opened properly.
It did open.
Not the way they wanted
It's
to,
technically
but it
correct.
opened.
The best kind of correct.
Yes, exclamation point S36 alt. But look at that. You can see that. So it kind of did the explosion, and then it didn't really have anywhere to go.
Right.
But as it kind of unzipped, and you're talking about then the LOX kind of falling outward, you saw parts of it then hit the ground, and that's when you saw that second big explosion there. But that image right there explains, I think, really well why it exploded, or, well, I guess we'll still say exploded the way it did.
I mean, I think exploded is a fine word. I guess detonation would be the incorrect one. That was just.
I mean, to quote you, Ship 36 exploded.
I mean, hey, should we talk about that? I guess we should probably.
I would love to talk about that, because I'm sure as much as people are here to talk about what happened, you and I and Max are kind of famous right now.
I wish I had said something more intelligent than it just exploded. From my perspective, my immediate reaction was to adjust camera settings, which if you heard the audio that Dee used in their real-time clip, or in the summary video, you can hear the click, 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 click of me adjusting the shutter and whatnot. But my impression from having the commentary in my ear was I thought somebody had said what just happened, and so I was like, immediately unmute and let them know it exploded, because I thought, if all they can see is my blown out view, then they don't know that it just exploded. All they know is very large, bright white light.
Would they static fire
looking
while
back
it's raining?
at the stream now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, even the other day when they.
Whoa! Whoa!
What?
That's not good.
No! Oh my God.
It appears there has been a
Ship
run.
36 just blew up. Ship 36 just blew up. It just blew
Great
up.
timing, Jack. Great timing.
So about those launch dates.
So about those launch dates, it was your follow-up, Sawyer.
I forgot that. Oh my gosh. I mean, that was the last joke that I made for 2 hours until we were near the end of the stream. But that was just the initial thing that came off my head, and then my head went, "You dummy, go into journalist mode. This is literally why you studied this. This is why you were in TV news for 7 years. Do your dang job." But yeah, and of course I'm going, it appears as if Ship 36 experienced a run, and that's right when Jack jumped in. So
Sorry, my bad.
I was going for the diplomatic. Jack went for the quote that's now gone viral.
I mean, when the Hindenburg blows up, someone's got to yell, "Oh, the humanity!" Am I right? Like, that's that. Is that not my role?
I didn't even have time to think of anything clever either, because it's just like, you see that happening. It was my first thought was, I was reading chat, and so because I just asked the question about static firing in the rain that someone had asked in chat, and so
Yeah,
then
and I gave you the most lame, flippant answer, like, yeah, probably.
Right, and I look over because I'm about to read the back channel, and also we have our preview window in Discord. So like that's where I'm looking at when I look over to the side of the screen during Flame Trench, and all of a sudden everything just went pure white, and I'm like, holy cow, that static fired early. Then I quickly looked at the clock. I'm like, this is way too early. And then that's when I went, whoa, that you hear on stream. And then once Kevin cut the cameras to the other angle, that's when I'm just like, oh, this is going to be a long night. Because I was getting tired. I was like, all right, well, it was supposed to, we've been waiting for it to happen most of the day. Finally happened. I was going to go watch the Sally Ride documentary afterwards. And then I'm like, well, this just got a lot longer.
I still got to watch that.
Me too.
Oh man,
we've been a little busy.
Do you wanna run some questions?
Sure. Well, I don't want to run,
Burgundy.
but you can do the questions.
You want to roll some questions?
Absolutely, I do.
All right, let's do it.
I love you guys.
Me too.
Dave Dodd says, if any other private space company had the series of failures seen with Starship, we'd be saying they had a very serious problem with the fundamental design. But SpaceX gets a pass. Why? Sorry, Dave Dodd. I felt like I had some caffeine in my system, and I wanted to read that with emphasis.
That's a legit question, though.
And no, it's a good question. And I really, just to reiterate what I said at the top of the show, this is bad. I don't want to give the impression that I or anybody at our organization that takes this stuff seriously, which is all of us, is trying to sweep this under the rug or say that it's not a big deal. It's bad. Is it the end of the world, though? Certainly not. And we know from watching this stuff for years at this point that this is, it's unfortunate. It's a bad look, but this kind of stuff happens. Remember SN4? Remember SN3? Remember when Mark 1 couldn't keep pressure? Remember when SN1 popped? Remember when, there's so many of these. Remember when Booster 7 detonated during a spin prime and killed that poor white hose?
Again, that hose died multiple times.
Remember when SN8 almost exploded on the test stand because they fired the rockets directly into Martite concrete and some of it shattered and severed an avionics cable and almost popped the header tank? This is how it goes with this program. Yeah, it's a little bit rough and loose. Yeah, it's a little bit Wild West, but welcome to Starbase. I don't think they get a pass. I just think we all know that they're going to pick up the pieces and keep going. Am I off base? Yeah, R.I.P. White Hose, never forget.
Here's the difference. Oh, do you want to go first,
ahead.
CJ?
No, you got it, dude.
Here's what I think personally is the difference when we're comparing it of, if this was anybody else, you would say it differently. SpaceX is the only company right now publicly sharing what they're doing that tests the way they do. If you look at ULA and the way that they do their testing, if something were to happen like that, it would be catastrophic. They're not launching every 3 days. They go slightly more methodically with their builds. Same thing with NASA, given that it is taxpayer funded and congressional oversight. They are going extremely careful with every single step so that if something were to happen, it would be that much worse.
Didn't ULA blow up a Centaur like 2 years ago?
That was meant to be for one of the early Vulcan flights, and they had to bump it to a different Vulcan flight because then they had to do reinforcements from it. But yes, they did. And that seemed really bad at the time. But it's just because they test so differently. SpaceX tests so many times and tests to failure. Just last week in McGregor, we had a test that they did at one of the test stands that was intentionally done to blow up. So I feel like that's why we treat this slightly differently, because they test slightly differently, especially compared to other companies that at least publicly share how they test.
Yeah, and didn't Blue Origin just explode a second stage on one of their test stands in Florida a couple of months ago?
A little bit of a debris on the roof and the door came off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we cover all that stuff, and I don't think we shade any of those companies for those mishaps either. That's just sort of how things go. But Sawyer, you're right. Nobody is doing what SpaceX is doing and doing all this stuff on the side of the highway in South Texas on a public beach. Like, that's the difference. We get to sit here with cameras and go, ha ha, it just blew up. Whereas, you know, when ULA blows up a Centaur, they're like, hey, we had an observation over there that nobody saw, but it happened, and we're good. Here's a fancy video about why we're good. Like, completely different realms.
I mean, yeah, Jack, the realms thing that you guys are getting at is basically a subset of the systems engineering for like how ULA goes about conducting their spaceflight activities and how SpaceX does. SpaceX runs a much more hardware-rich program than anyone else. And that, Sawyer, that's what you were talking about. They're blowing up engines constantly. You're putting ships on the test stand. Yeah, okay, great. You just lost 36, and that is a bummer, and it sucks. Ship 37's right over there.
So
I
it's
think the
38.
big thing is, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, with the way SpaceX is doing things, guys, it's just next thing up. All right, it's just a little bump in the road. Their hardware-rich program, and go from there. I mean, yeah, that's Centaur blowing up with ULA. Jeez. ULA hasn't generally in the past run a hardware-rich program. They just make what they need to make and go. But
Right,
then
so
again,
when-
they haven't really.
So when
What's
when they blow something up, it's like, oh geez, it's not
Yeah,
hardware rich, like you're saying.
Well, yeah, and Sawyer said it, dude. That tank that popped was supposed to fly. That was actual flight hardware. It wasn't a test article. That was something that was supposed to deliver a payload into space. These starships, as cool as they are, they don't even get into orbit. They're test vehicles. SpaceX is very much taking the Kerbal approach of just fly it again. All right, fly it again. All right, fly it again. And when you do that, on top of scaling your factory, on top of hiring a bunch of people, on top of, you know, building them in a tent and then switching to build them inside, and on top of all this other things, you get there's a lot going on. Mistakes happen. It does, when you're running a hardware-rich space program, this happened. This happened with the Saturn V. They blew up the S-4B on the dynamic test stand. NASA engineers back in the day, they blew one up on the test stand. They overpressed it and it popped. Just like this, it happens. This stuff does happen. Like, I mean, Jack, you know, you had that whole speech about, like, you know, we're not trying to downplay it. I kind of am. It's not that big of a deal. It kind of stinks that you lost Massey's, like, but I personally don't think Massey's is going to take that long to rebuild. That Massey's test stand was made out of leftover parts from the suborbital pads back in the day. Like, SpaceX had 2 suborbital launch pads, right?
Really?
What do you mean, What do you mean,
I don't think
Made out of spare parts.
that static fire stand was not spare parts, my guy.
No, some of it was, not all of it. And Jack, listen to this, dude.
Ding,
It took them 2 months to make it from scratch. That's
I-
making it from scratch. That's casting all the concrete, building everything that you needed. That's making it completely from scratch. Took them 2.5 months to make it originally.
Here's the thing.
It's not going to be down for that long.
I do agree that it's not going to be a super long time to rebuild Massey's. Like, yes, these are some great aerial shots from Jerry the morning after.
Smoky.
I do agree. You know, it's not going to take him forever to rebuild Massey's. That's not necessarily the end of the world. Is it 3 months or however long we think? We should probably go around the horn how long we think it's going to take. Is a N number of months setback good? No. The Starship needs to be launched in the Starlinks like last year. I don't know. How long do you think it's actually like realistically going to take them to get Massey's back up and running?
Month.
1 month. 1 month.
Yeah. Sure.
What?
To do what? Like a cryo test on 37? Because that's 37 was about ready to do a cryo. Is what would have been up next. Booster 18.1 notwithstanding.
Yeah, I'd say about a month.
Dude, sorry, Ryan Weber
took-
correcting me in the back channel. 37's already cryoed. It's getting engines.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it has its engines installed. So, okay. I don't think it's going to take that long. And here's the reason why I don't think it's a big bump in the road. People are I see people chat like, you're just always downplaying everything. All right. Think about this for a second, dudes.
And people are calling me
You
a
have-
drama queen, so we're good.
All right. Yeah, we're doing something right here then. All right, cool.
I feel seen.
Yeah. So, look, you only have a couple more ships. There's only a couple more of the Block 2 design, and then you switch to Block 3. Does anybody think that they're not going to slow down when they switch over to Block 3? They got to retool everything. You got to retool everything. So, you were going to have a gap in flight. You're going to have a gap in the flights anyway, right? That gap, I don't know, probably about a month and a half, right? Well, with Massey's, it took 2.5 months to make it originally. They made it. They started making it like April. It was done by like June or something. I forget the exact dates. Last year. Heck, if you go on Google Earth and look at it right now, there's nothing there. The test stand isn't even there. It's just a dirt field, right? It didn't take them that long to make it, and most of that was curing the concrete for the flame trench. It's not going to take long for them to rebuild this thing, guys. It really isn't. They might take some people off working at the launch sites, but that's fine. Version 3 isn't ready yet. It's not ready. So get this thing reshored up, get these ships tested, get them flying, and if anything, that's going to make your stopgap between the last Block 2 to fly and the first Block 3 to fly a lot shorter.
Yeah. So Sawyer, what do you think? I want to bring you in here. What sort of time frame would you think for getting Massey's back online? Just spitballing.
If I had to guess, I think that we would see our first test underway by August. So, I mean, we could talk about building it up, getting parts of it ready, getting the whole thing ready, however you want to do that. My guess would be by August, we will see Ship 37 testing underway. At least with the engines on it, potentially static firing. It's obviously going to take the time to rebuild. You've got the tanks, a lot of the tank farm there looked like it got quite toasty. Not sure how much of that is just the external part of the tank versus the internal, like we saw right after Flight 1, where we saw some crumpled metal and some metal that had shrapnel going through it. The test stand's absolutely going to need to be redone. That's why I think it's going to not take as long to get it back up and running in terms of, getting test hardware built. The longest time I think is going to be checking everything, see what is damaged, how bad it's damaged, how much needs to be done, getting the parts and everything for it. So I think August we will see testing.
The one thing that's interesting is, like, what sort of long lead items do you think that there might be? Like, what? Sure, you can get steel for your stand and fabricate a new stand. But like, one of the things I've seen people talk about is like the ship QD. In fact, in our back channel, I believe it was Pizza saying that the ship QD, they reused the ship QD from the suborbital pads at Massey's to follow up on that, EJ. Not sure about what else, but at the very least, okay, they reused the ship QD. But hey, guess what? Version 3 uses a different ship QD. And that might, I don't know if that was their last one that's available. Like, they can't exactly take the ship QD arm plate thing off of Pad A. Maybe they have one in the Star Factory that they use as part of like a test rig, or they plug it into a partially built aft end and do checkouts, and they can scavenge that. But I do wonder, like, it seems like a month or two, sure, fine, yeah, clean it up, check the concrete, check the tanks, check the plumbing. But what sort of like really annoying little pieces like a ship QD or something like that might be like, what if they roasted the really tiny plumbing in the flame bucket? Like, stuff fell onto the flame bucket and now they have to build a new one. That might take a lot of time. But in terms of just like clean up and get it back together, yeah, I could see August easy.
Yeah, I think end of August if I had to put it, because people saying, oh, well, July is in just like 10 days. First off, where is the year gone? But second off, yeah, I think it's probably closer to the 2-month end on my scale.
Joe Pipelli is asking, Jack, did you feel the explosion? If so, were you too close? No, again, I didn't feel unsafe at any point. I don't feel that I was too close. I think I was about a mile away. I don't remember if I felt it. I don't remember if I felt heat. I remember the bright light and the loud sound and everything else. I mean, I'm in work mode, so I'm not. I often am not experiencing these things in terms of like, oh, let's take it all in and experience it. It's sort of the thing I think about afterwards. Like, what was that like? I don't know. I don't really know how else to explain it. Does that make any sense? So it's similar when you go to a launch and you're like filming or shooting a launch, right? Like, you're not really there watching the launch. You're in work mode.
Right. I mean, you obviously take your eye away from the lens a couple of times, or through the viewfinder a couple of times, so you can just see it in real life. But we're talking maybe 2 seconds at a time, and then you go right back to shooting. And of course, in the moment, you feel it, you get the excitement of it. Yes, your heart's pumping the whole time, but your shutter's also clicking the whole time. So it's, as much as I remember certain launches very clearly, there are certain ones that really stand out, like we were talking about the other day with the Southern Polar Corridor, with Fram 2 going directly overhead, ones like that. But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of, you remember it when you look back at the pictures and go, oh yeah. Which is why we also recommend, don't take pictures for your first ever launch or something like that. There are people who it's their job to do it, so you can just enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good advice. Anybody go to see a rocket launch for the first time, don't take your phone out. Just sit there and watch it. Trust me on this one. Trust us on this one. Don't do that. Just watch it and enjoy the moment, because it is cool.
It's like, if you're going to go see insert band you care about a lot here, do you want to watch it with your eyes, or do you want to watch it through your phone screen, which you can do anywhere, and make a video that you're never going to watch later?
Or when you do watch it, you hear yourself singing in it and go, oh my God, why?
What have I done? Yeah, I'm so sorry for everybody that was around me.
Hypothetically, of course.
Yeah,
not
hypothetically.
actually.
I've never felt that, but I imagine somebody might have felt that. Yeah. Aiden is asking, is version 2 of the ship now officially kaput? I mean, what? They have 37 and 38, and we think 39 is the first version 3? So there's 2 more version 2 ships left. I don't know. Sawyer, what do you think? You think version 2 is kaput? You think they'll go straight to version 3?
I mean, they're already working on Booster 3 ship. Part of it, though, is you need Pad B2 West, the sequel's worse than the originals, over there, built and done. Right now, Pad 1 can't do that. You need the new one. So I think part of it's also going to depend on how fast they go with that. And right now, I feel like the priority is fixing Massey so they can fly at all. So they're going to have a large team working on that. And of course, they're still going to work on the tower. But I think you finish flying out the hardware you have for version 2. Is version 2 cursed? I'm going to say it's cursed. Is there something wrong with the design? Not necessarily, but it's cursed.
I would agree with that assessment. I don't think the design's inherently flawed. I do think it's unfortunate. It's had a series of unfortunate events, much like what's that, Lemony Snicket or whatever? Is that a thing?
Series of unfortunate events, yeah.
Yeah.
And Max in the back channel, hi Max, I heard your voice on the news, also saying Raptor 3 still not ready yet. They're still doing testing over at McGregor with that. So I think they kind of have to go with 2 for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I don't know. EJ, any thoughts? You think version 2 is kaput?
No, I don't at all. I think we're still a ways out from V3, and SpaceX wants to keep their flight rate up. If anything, just make room, as Ryan Weber puts it. They don't have the room to do this. They want to make the room. Guys, we've seen this pattern from them before. I firmly believe they put SN11 back in the day. They put that thing out on the pad knowing that it's probably going to blow up, and they sent it anyway. And it blew up. All right, cool. So what? They needed the space. They needed the space. That's the truth. There's just too many starships there. They didn't have enough room. They're like, this stock is old stock. Get rid of it. If you can get some flight data from it, that's great. That'll help V3 get better. But what you don't want to do is stop your assembly lines at the Star Factory. You don't want to halt the line. Remember, this thing needs to be mass produced. That is part of the stakeholder expectations of Starship.
Never stop the line. It'd be like running into the newspaper printer. I almost said newspaper factory, and we suddenly yelling, "Stop the presses!" And then all the machinery just like jams to a halt, and papers go everywhere. You don't want to stop the line.
Isn't that what they said to the COPV? Stop the presses, and then it blew up.
Oh my God!
I
Slayer.
think they said start the press and then.
Yeah,
then
Okay.
Hey, jokes.
Right. No, seriously, Elon always talks about how this thing needs to be rapidly reusable, and he kind of dwells on it, but rapidly reusable is part of it. But Starship being able to be mass produced is a huge part of Starship's design,
Right.
i.e. the stainless steel. That's a good place to start. The rings can be made from rolls of 304 stainless. They can buy it off the shelf.
Right.
They could buy it right from the factory wholesale and just use that to make the rings.
They might
That's a really good point.
They might be using a proprietary 304X or something at this point. That's their own thing.
Yeah, but you can
it's
still
just
buy
steel.
that in
It's
bulk
just
from the
stainless
steel mill, dude.
Yeah,
you
to your
can
point.
buy it in bulk from the steel mill. That's the whole point. Like this ship is designed to be mass produced. That is part of it. The factory is in as much R&D and development as the dang vehicle is.
Right.
So, and that's people to the people that think I'm downplaying this, dude. You got to look at the macro operations here. Look at the whole thing. You got the factory going overtime. You got Sanchez doing its thing. You got the pad being worked on. You have ships being mass produced while the factory is being made. This is a slap across the face for SpaceX. I mean, it certainly sucks if you put all those dang tiles on it and the thing blows up in your face. But this is just a bump in the road. It's really not that big of a deal because your factory's still going. Your lines are still producing. Now you have another spot for a ship because, I mean, ideally it would have been good to have another transport standing spot for a ship because the thing launched, but that ship kind of sailed the other day or blew up. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Just get the test stand fixed and go build another one. Oh wait, they already have. Build another. Oh wait, they've done that too. It's not a big deal. The whole thing is under development. And you get bumps in the road like this. It happens.
I mean, they haven't gotten to rapid reusability yet, but at least they've gotten to rapid recyclability.
Yeah.
I mean,
you just make it funny, Jack.
Not bad. I mean,
Good one.
when you think about it, what is it? Reduce, reuse, recycle? They're at the reduce part right now.
Yeah, they reduced a lot of that,
Yep. I scared Jack so much that he had to look off camera.
No, sorry. I had to tell Leica to not bark at whatever she's barking at. I think Dee or Jerry might be egging her on behind the green screen. Let's do some more questiones. How about? Composer's asking, when is a Massey flyover? As soon as we can. David Dodd is asking, isn't there a non-zero chance that Starship, regardless of version, might be a fundamentally misdesigned concept and a page one redesign is needed? Also, Jerry did fly his drone the morning after, so that's what that shot is. I don't know. I think we've kind of put this one to bed a little bit, but fundamentally flawed design? We want to go around the horn? I know, EJ, you're no.
Oh yeah, no, I do think so. Yes, actually. It's the opposite of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you weren't expecting that. Yes, they did see a problem with the version 2 design. That's why they're designing a version 3. So yeah, yes, I do. These mitigations that they've been making are just band-aids till the actual fix comes down the road. So yeah, I don't think it's so much a design flaw though.
But you just said yes. Don't walk it back.
No, okay, all right, I won't walk it back. You don't know. You don't know what this is. It's not like the Starship program can look to some obscure NASA technical reports document about how to make external tank-sized reentry vehicle happen. Back in the day, SpaceX would raid NASA technical reports, and they'd use a lot of NASA off-the-shelf technology, like the phenolic impregnated carbon ablator, the heat shield that Dragon uses. Right, supersonic retropropulsion is an idea that was pioneered by NASA for Mars entry, descent, and landing. Okay, they raided NASA technical reports servers to make Falcon 9 work. SpaceX at a point where they can't do that. There's no obscure paper to learn how to catch a booster, or how to make a Starship, something that big, come back from space. There's just not. You're not standing on the shoulders of giants anymore. You're doing your own thing. Nobody's tried to make a stainless steel rocket this big, with this much thrust, to be rapidly reusable, with flappy wings, et cetera, et cetera. You can't rely on NASA anymore. So in that regard, you're going to get a lot of failures. especially when you're running a hardware rich program. Like, see some of when I mean hardware rich, I mean it's burning up. Like, see it back there. This happens. Like, I think V2 does have some problems with it, and that's why we got mitigations. But they figured out what those things are, and they fixed the mitigation. They fixed the problems instead of trying to mitigate them with V3. So I think 2 is it's not the best design, but it wasn't. What other design are you going to put out there? You're not going to know what V3. You're not going to know what the right design is. There's no report there's no technical report. There's nobody they can ask. Be like, hey, what's the best Starship design? No, you got to figure it out. We're in uncharted territory here.
All right.
What do you want?
So you mentioned there's no like way to like no blueprint for Starship. I beg to differ, because
Ooh,
yeah.
smooth, Carson.
Are you doing a merch plug?
Wow, Carson picked a good one too, because this is like probably my favorite design that we have done. We did that in collaboration with Raphael. That's really cool. Nice to have this shirt. I believe we have it on other designs as well if you want it not in shirt form. We also have a whole bunch of other sweet merch in the NSF shop, including metal prints. Carson, can we show the metal prints? Please, pretty please. I mean, if you're going to talk on stream, I can just backseat direct, right?
Yeah, the
Oh no, he's
producers
gonna
love it
he's
when
gonna
we
show
do that.
he's gonna show patches. No, okay. Metal prints. The cool thing about the prints is a portion of it to the photographer who made the image, and you can even filter by vehicle type, by photographer, or what have you. So if you want to support, say, Max and his great imagery, you can do that. If you want to support D and their great imagery, you can do that. You can see the little filter thing over there on the left-hand side, and you get something cool in return. The metal prints in particular are really cool because they are printed directly on metal, and they're easy to hang. You don't need a frame. Comes with all the stuff in the box. It's good stuff, and you support us and all of the stuff that we do, which is a lot. I don't know if you noticed. And also you support the photographer who made the image. Thanks, Carson. That was smooth.
Way too smooth.
Did you do that?
So what were we
because
talking about?
Did you do that because you knew I wasn't going to see a message about needing to do that in the back channel? So you just decided to do that?
You cut me off just as I was about to make a pun, too. I was saying they're no longer standing on the shoulders of giants. They're now catching in the arms of the chopsticks.
Wow. I was
It was
trying to think
probably
of if
better
there might
that we
be
did that.
Giants reference I could make. I couldn't think of one. It's something Istanbul, not Constantinople. Triangle Man? I don't know. There might be Giants.
song,
Listen to them.
but-
Anyways. I'm going to do some support. Let's do some more questions. J.R. Moore, thanks for the $20 super. They say, PR is important. We live in a world where narrative overshadows the facts, right or wrong. So SpaceX needs to stay ahead of this, regardless of the objective engineering realities. Agreed?
Nah, hard to disagree.
How do you disagree with that?
Again.
How do you disagree with that? You guys are talking like SpaceX's entire funding is not tied to public perception. It's absolutely not.
Bro, have you not been paying attention to the political landscape? Like, the winds could shift and the main HLS lander could become a Blue Origin thing or a Lockmart thing or a Boeing thing. Who knows? On a whim.
So what?
It's not great, Bob. I mean, any funding is good. I'm not saying they are dependent on Artemis funding to do Starship. They're clearly not, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, it certainly helps. But I mean, Elon even posted on X the other day. The Starship program development is being entirely funded by Starlink by itself. That is agnostic to revenue generated by Falcon 9 or contracts that Falcon 9 has. I mean, at least maybe I might be reading too much into it, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Who cares?
No, I think I would agree with the characterization that Starlink is paying for Starship and that Starship is not dependent on government funds for success.
I don't think they would pull SpaceX's contracts. NASA needs SpaceX a lot more than vice versa right now, dude. I hate to say that. I love NASA.
I know. I agree. I'm just not beholden to the idea that logic will prevail in anything these days.
It doesn't have to, dude. That's what I'm telling you. It doesn't have to. I
want it to.
Politicians or the political winds can blow whichever way they want. Short of like some crazy regulatory oversight, like what has been talked about in the past. SpaceX has the money. They have the money to get this done.
Alex brings up a good point that the FCC, in
Won't let
theory,
me be.
could choose to limit available spectrum for Starlink, which would certainly have an impact, and that that is at the whim of whatever the political headwinds are at the moment.
And
I think optics are important. You're fine to disagree with me. I just think it would be a folly to think it's not important.
Yeah, but so Jack, down the road, when the next ship does its thing, and then they finally get all this stuff working, and then SpaceX makes the lander that Artemis 3 goes to the moon with, or they get refueling done, or they go to Mars, or whatever. They send something in the transfer window. Are you going to sit there and say this is good optics for SpaceX?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah. Well, dude, the booster getting caught, fantastic optics. Like that's a high point, right? Ship blowing up over Turks and Caicos, not the end of the world, not a great look. Another one blowing up over the Turks and Caicos, not the end of the world, not a great look. Another one blowing up, not really visible. It's fine. It got further. It's fine. Blowing one up on the test stand after that string, not a good look. Does not inspire confidence in the program in normals. I think it's fine. I think they're going to get to Mars. Again, Mars 2030 still on the table. But to normals, it's not a good look. That's not good.
Why are we preoccupying our time with wondering what people who don't care about space think?
Because I think if we don't have a good chunk of the population on board, the mission becomes that much harder.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I get it, but
Kevin made a good point, by the way, Kevin Michael Reed in chat. He pointed out the fact that once the ISS is done, if they deorbit the ISS early, as being discussed, we know the ISS, the last crew mission, is set to go by 2029, and they have the ISS deorbit vehicle for 2030 contracted to SpaceX. Then what does NASA need them for? Got the lunar lander. That's really it. So, as we're talking about the relationships with all the federal agencies and things like that, NASA doesn't have much more need for Starship or for SpaceX at that point. They're done carrying crew.
What about the deorbit vehicle? Who's making that?
I just said that SpaceX is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What about, okay, that's fair. Sorry, I missed it. I was reading the chat.
So post-ISS.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there goes that side of things.
What about all the science missions that SpaceX launches for NASA?
My guy, have you seen the science budget?
True. How many science missions have they launched recently for them?
Guys, yeah, you're not wrong, but I don't think this is the own that you think it is, Kevin. I don't think this is okay. You are suggesting that NASA is not going to need SpaceX anymore because NASA will not be launching anything into space. That's the argument that you're making. They're not going to need them. It's not like NASA's going to have their own program and they'll have a Falcon 9 replace it and they'll be able to do their own thing. No. NASA doesn't need to make the argument that NASA doesn't need SpaceX is kind of ridiculous because after all the missions that they need SpaceX for are gone, right? They're not going to need them anymore. If all the missions for them are gone and the science budget gets gutted, NASA will be launching nothing into space. SpaceX will not need them. They will be launching nothing. I don't think that's the own that you think it is.
It's worth noting, of the companies that, Elon has a hand in, SpaceX is still private. I know there's been discussion of making it public, but right now it is still private funding. They don't have anyone to answer to technically.
I think it's been a while since we've heard anything of this nature, but as far as I am aware, any sort of plan for an IPO would not involve SpaceX, but it would spin off Starlink as a subsidiary, and that SpaceX would remain private. But it's been a long time since I've heard of anything of that nature. Optics are important. Is my summary at the end of the paragraph. I really don't think it's the end of the world, and I really don't think that we should be looking at this with sadness or oh geez. But I do think that you want to have as many people out there on board with the program. You want to have as many people as possible pushing forward and supporting the mission and telling their friends about it and telling their Congress people about it and a national forgive me if I've said this already today or on any of our streams, but again, I'm a nerd about engineering disasters and engineering mega projects and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, I've read all about the Manhattan Project. When you think about Starbase, in a lot of ways, it's like the next tier down from a Manhattan Project like scale effort. You know, it's not a nationwide effort, but it's a pretty darn big effort, right? It's approaching Manhattan Project level amounts of investment. It's not there. It's not even probably very close, but it's approaching it. You get my analogy. And if we have a divided populace that is not on board with this mission, and there's a whole huge segment of the population thinks this is just a billionaire's folly and it's vaporware, and that, you know, all these stupid, incorrect opinions that just people just don't know better because the media is the way that it is, it makes that mission so much harder. And if only that it was like a concerted Manhattan Project level nationwide effort, buddy, we'd be on Mars by now. Just wish that, you know, I just wish there wasn't so much like.
Okay. No, I get that, man. And to put a bow on it, dude, I have one question. All right. So my question is this: you know, it's no doubt that this is, you know, with people that don't know too much about the space program, this looks ridiculous, right? But, you know, guys, Sawyer and Jack, our job is to tell people about this, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to sit here? If we sit here and we tell people, oh, you know, the optics can't be ignored, this is bad, that puts a bad connotation on what happened, and people are listening to us and listening to what we say. I'm telling you that this is not a big deal. And if you know, it would be awesome if someone saw this explosion and be like, oh, the rockets are so cool, you know, but I wonder why this exploded. If we're going to sit here and we're going to be like, oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, the optics can't be ignored, the optics can't be ignored. What kind of news and STEM educators does that make us? You know what I mean? I think it's better to sit here and be like, tell what's going on. Like, from space exercise, it's not that big of a deal. It's a little bump in the road. Yeah. If we're going to sit here and doom and gloom about it and people are listening to us, why? That's just negatively, that's doing what you're saying, but even worse. Don't you think?
I hear you, and I do not intend to doom and gloom. And I do agree with you that it's not the end of the world. I guess it's a fine line, right, to tread between not sugarcoating it, but also putting it in context with the test program that we are watching. Sawyer, sorry, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the fact that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we can only reach so many people. Of course, we're going to try and reach out to our audience, to the people that are listening to us, to Jake, to everyone, basically to say, yes, is this bad? Yeah. Is it the end of Starship? No. Is it the end of spaceflight? Absolutely not. Is Starship still the future vehicle? I think it still is. But there's only so much that we can reach. So when you see all of these other people out there and they're playing it off as, oh, this was a folly, this was a waste of money, another explosion for SpaceX, their fourth failure in a row kind of deal, it's hard to ignore that, and it's hard to beat that. And I mean, yes, it's our job to tell people that's not the case, but when you get all the people that come into chat, you know, sometimes we numpty them, but sometimes they're like, well, then what's the point of all this? Or this is a joke, or this isn't going anywhere. We could try our best to ignore it, but when everyone else is saying the exact opposite, it makes it difficult.
Well, dude, yeah, there's no doubt that a job gets a little harder, Sawyer, when stuff like this happens. But, man, I see those people like that. I want to talk to those people. I want to take the bull by the horn.
Tell them how cool
that's how I
it
live
is.
my life.
Yeah.
It's how I live my life. And, you know, that actually happened. It's a metaphor, but it actually happened, you know.
I'm just saying, when we're in the minority here, even though we're, you know, in my opinion, correct, and the mainstream is saying the other way around, sometimes it can be hard to be that, you know, minority voice and change the opinion, which is what we're here to do. I'm not saying that we're not going to. That is literally why we are here. This is why we are at NSF, why we are live, because we love doing what we do. But I'm just saying, it does make it harder.
Mytholox in chat says Jake disagrees, I think. All right, well,
I think he's just comfy.
I think we explored that plenty thoroughly. Let's look to the future. Yvonne Mush, 2700, in chat is asking, is there any way they can test Ship 37, that's the next one in the line, remember, anywhere else other than Massey's? This is a really good question. Now, EJ, if I say the words milk stool to you, what does that mean?
Oh.
What does that mean? I see your face lighting up. Let's talk about more fun topics. What would a starship on a milk stool mean to you?
That would be very cool. I would be on board with this. So Jack's talking about at the later end of the Apollo program, the Saturn 1B started launching off of the same launch pads as Saturn V, albeit with a modified mobile launcher. The modified mobile launcher basically just took a Saturn 1B pad, put it on a gigantic stand, and then put it halfway up the Saturn V's mobile launcher.
Yeah, they did.
The reason why is because the top of a Saturn 1B, second stage, and then your staging adapter, and then your CSM is exactly the same as the Saturn V, so it would line up with all the umbilicals. All you need to do is just give it a pad. So they took the pad, and
Let's go. Jerry made this.
They took it. That's awesome, man. They took a Saturn 1B pad and just put it up in the air on top of an ML. Now people are suggesting SpaceX do that. So they could build a Starship test stand. And you know what, man?
I don't hate it.
I hate it. That's super cool.
Why do you hate that, Sawyer? Do you not like mock diamonds? Suspended 100 feet in the air?
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Yeah,
imagine a slow-mo. Imagine D&My's slow-mo from a static fire. Oh, yeah. Chef's hand gesture thingy. Thank you, EJ.
Ooh. Chef's kiss.
Yeah,
but
I got you.
I mean, imagine a 60-second static fire on that thing. Keep in mind, when you had the Saturn 1B, it didn't static fire on that. It launched off of that. That's not something that would be a good static fire stand. Because, again, we're talking about testing here. We're not talking about flying a whole rocket like that.
Why not? Why you gotta limit it, Sawyer?
You want to just...
Yeah.
We got rid of the suborbital pads.
No, let's go again.
Sorry,
Point-to-point testing, baby. Let's go.
Oh, my God. It's just... I get what they're trying to do, but imagine this happened at the launch site. Imagine this was on the launch pad. Imagine there was a milk stool underneath it. The milk stool melted from an explosion like this. Now you're damaging your launch infrastructure, not just your testing infrastructure.
Yeah, that's fair.
A lot of people are saying
plus
just
it's
use
just
the chopsticks.
ugly. At least the red paint, kind of, but it's just ugh. Anyway.
What was that, EJ?
A lot of people, I see people in Twitch chat and YouTube chat saying, just use the chopsticks. I think Sawyer's point still stands, guys, to be honest with you. I don't think they should do any more testing on these pads because you only have one right now. That's not smart.
So realistically, there's really nowhere for them to do any ship testing other than Massey's, which needs to be rebuilt.
And that's what I mean about Massey's quick turnaround time. You're in a pickle here. It's like when Amos 6 happened in 2016 and it blew up Pad 40 and Pad 39A wasn't done. What did SpaceX do? They put everyone on 39A and got that thing up and running, and it was ready in early 2017. They finished the pad way quicker than what they would have. SpaceX is good at diverting personnel and getting stuff done quick in a pinch. We've seen that from the past. And that was past SpaceX. That was 2,000 employees SpaceX. SpaceX is 15,000 employees now. Massey's will get fixed, and it will get fixed really quick. Because even like if you wanted to try and figure out some type of testing regime, like holding the ship from the chopsticks, hooking up the ship quick disconnect,
that takes
and
longer.
trying to do some proof testing or anything, the amount of time it's going to take to figure that out, you could have just rebuilt Massey's.
Yep, I agree. It's fun.
Right?
It's fun to imagine, though, right?
Oh no, dude, I want it. I'm not going to say I don't want that. You're absolutely right.
Thank you
Moldy
to
Space.
Thank you to Jay. Oh yeah, I see Moldy Space telling the members to get the gaming channel ready in Discord because I have a feeling Moldy Space is going to do things in Kerbal involving a starship and a milk stool. Thank you, Moldy.
Yes.
That's the only way I want to see it happen. Okay.
Moldy runs Realism Overhaul too, so it's like it's good. Mr. Gamer IO, thanks for the gifting and the red team memberships there, 5 of them. Also, Mr. Gamer IO saying flashbang into cheesecake. I have no idea what that means, but thanks for the super chat. Is that a thing? Is that a...
No, he's talking about the exposure with your camera and how disasters are like cheese with holes in them. Get it? Flashbang in the cheesecake? No? All right.
Plus,
I got it.
cheesecake after
I think
that flight.
that's got to be a stretch, but okay. Yeah,
I got it.
I thought it was a
That's
cheesecake
a
reference. Morton, thank
Also
you for the super chat there. They say most people in the world know little to nothing about Starship. The explosion is already almost forgotten by most people who even heard of it. People will only take notice en masse when it starts going to the moon and Mars, etc. Boy, I'm so excited for that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine when when our job becomes convincing people that we actually did land on the moon like last month?
Again.
That's going to be so much nicer.
Which, that reminds me, can I just point out another thing that I'm glad didn't happen? I am glad this was not on the pad at 39A.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that would have been
Because
bad.
we're talking about, there are talks about getting, Cape Starship up by the end of the year. Oh, God, the nightmare of that. No, not my beloved 39A.
Yeah,
Historic launch complex 39A, sorry,
well,
historic.
And that's the reason they're doing all the development work, all the potentially really dangerous development work here in Starbase, right? Bideford, thanks for the $50 super. Honestly, y'all, everyone coming out every week with the support. We can't do this without you guys, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bideford, you're the best. I hope you're having a tasty marg. Hang in there, Jack. The negativity is so sad when all of us follow. All the work that goes on in SpaceX is misconstrued. NSF has been great at informing the public. I am so sorry for you at NSF. Hugs all. Don't be. This isn't our first rodeo. This isn't our first explosion. Not by a long shot. Thank you for the kind words and the support. But this is what we're here for. And hopefully, if there's one good thing that comes from what we do, it's that everybody out there that watches our content and is therefore better informed helps those around them be better informed. That's the number one best possible thing that we could do, probably along with like making people laugh when they're not having a good day. Like, two most noble pursuits, in my opinion. So thank you. I hope that our coverage is a place for which you can get ammunition to fight the nonsense out there. 33 Raptors Mimi, thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. Master Toymaker, thank you for the support. They say, great to hear Jack's voice on ABC, CNN, etc. Like, hey, I know that guy. Then sadly realize that Jack doesn't know me. Maybe I do. You don't know that.
See, Jack just read your name out now, so Jack does know you now.
I wonder what kind of toys Master Toymaker makes. I'm looking at chat. Type it up.
Not a Doctor Who reference, is it?
I don't watch Doctor Who. Sorry.
That's fine.
Drew,
No, I'm seeing if they are.
Drew Nar, thanks for the super chat. They say, didn't SN9 get dropped? It kind of more like tipped over. Also, they reused TVC hardware from SN8. Don't worry about it. Process control is really important in terms of hardware in your spacecraft factory. Did I just say that out loud? Mr. Gamer.io, they say SN9 fell over into the high bay onto the wall. Yep, that did happen. It happens. Mr. Gamer.io, they say, don't they have pressure sensors like everywhere? They do. In fact, this follows into a question here from Creative Bytes TB asking, will they have captured any/enough data to be able to really narrow down exactly what happened? I got to figure that Starship's just as instrumented as Falcon 9, which is famously very instrumented, and that they'll be able to look at all of their sensors and instrumentation and determine what the heck happened. I mean, yeah, Ryan in our back channel bring up a good point. There's cameras in the payload bay, right? I mean, who knows what frame rate they were running at, and if they were running a fast enough frame rate to even capture more than like one frame of white or what have you. But yeah, that's... I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they know what's up and then now it's just coming through the data, or do you think it's like it'll be like a Amos 7 or a CRS 6 where it's like, geez, what the heck, was it a sniper?
Backwards.
Sorry, thank you. I always do that.
I don't think that it's not, I mean, they're obviously going to be combing through the data, but you have the benefit of actually having the hardware. I'm sure they could go find the COPV that ruptured. It's in the jungle somewhere, but they or in the river. I mean, wherever. I'm sure they could find it. If you could see how the explosion propagated when the COPV failed, like basically, is the COPV blown in half? Is the top blown off? Is it cracked down the middle? Does it look like a hot dog bun? Right? Like, now I'm hungry.
Yeah, now I want a hot dog.
I know.
Thanks, EJ.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. That was my fault. That's the price that you guys have to pay for doing puns all the time.
Wait, have you had
Anyway.
one of those bacon wrapped hot dogs? It's a bacon
Dude, don't
overwrapped
do this.
meat vessel, a BOMV.
Oh my god, that's a stretch. Whoa.
It's a bacon overwrapped meat vessel. What?
Yeah, dude, I'm in.
Why does that
we
make
should
me
start
sound nauseous hearing it worded like that, even though it's probably delicious?
It is. Have you never had one? They're delicious. Look, it's a
I've not.
COPV. Thank you, Sawyer, for highlighting that in the video that's on screen currently.
So they got hands on the hardware. You can see that I'm sure they could find the COPV that failed. Did it crack like an egg? The hot dog thing? Like, looking at that, you can try to replicate a failure mode. So take another one that you know is good, or another one from the same batch, right? And put those out at Massey's and see if it breaks. Push it to the same failure mode, and if it breaks in the same spot, then you can verify, is this a bad batch of COPVs or was this mishandled? You do the same thing with a COPV from the same manufacturing batch, and it works correctly. I think you can help do fault tree analysis that way. I mean, I wouldn't be worried about putting them out at Massey's. What are they going to do? Blow up?
Yeah,
Oh.
It's fair.
I don't think they need to worry about messing stuff up. Like, I'm pretty sure that ship sailed already.
No, the
Diabetic
ship
kid,
blew up, it didn't sail.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But part of it landed in the river.
half a dozen. That diabetic kid, thanks for the super chat. They say ULA sniper strikes again. The coefficient becoming a pad rep member. Thanks for that.
Revenge.
It's because they
keep in
demolished
mind-
the. What's up?
No, I was going to say, yeah, you had the ULA sniper theory for AMO 6, then you had the SpaceX sniper for Slick 37B, and now they're it's the back and forth. It's the war of the snipers.
I've seen some pretty fire memes involving Tori Bruno and
Yes.
some crosshairs and some of our footage. Rankley, thank you for the super chat. They say, are we absolutely sure this wasn't a test for a new FTS location? In all seriousness, it could have been worse. Imagine if it was on either pad. Exactly. Like we were talking about earlier, this could have been so much worse. Matthew Parker, imagine if it was at 39A, like Sawyer was saying.
Yeah,
Matthew
that would be
Parker.
terrible.
Thank you for the super. They say if COPV handling isn't being done right, what else isn't being done right? Maybe SpaceX needs to slow down to speed up. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like,
I don't
if
think
it
they
was,
need to slow down.
if it was a process issue, something in handling a COPV caused it to malfunction under load, just have better controls over your hardware. Just put a little shock sensor on the box. I don't know. There's fixes there that don't necessarily involve slowing down. EJ,
Okay.
I have a feeling you agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, this is a little while ago. Like, I don't know how long that was ago. I talked a little bit earlier in the stream about how the factory is part of the Starship program. It's not just about building starships and making them rapidly reusable. It's about mass producing them too. And that would mean making an assembly line for starships, for spaceships, something akin to like Willow Run in Michigan in 1942, when they were rolling a B-24 off the line like every couple of minutes. Has anyone ever tried to make an assembly line for rockets? No, that's never been done. So now you're looking at handling COPVs in ways that they're not. How do you know? Maybe you're looking at ways of handling them that's not a thing. That process hasn't been invented yet.
I take your point. I do think many companies have had assembly lines for rockets. I'm splitting hairs, really. Like, yeah, they're trying to mass produce Starship. They're trying to mass produce a fully reusable second stage, which has never been done, and they're trying to do so at scale. And not only that, but super cheap as well, which unheard of. No one's doing that. No one's even tried. No one's even come close. So I get that. I just assembly line.
What does an assembly line look like for something like this, dude? Like,
I mean, we've seen for something like this. I can't tell you because this is the only one in the world. But we've seen obviously shots from Rocket Lab or shots from ULA or shots from other companies of their assembly line in their factory. Yeah, it's not necessarily the same sort of mass production as we see with Starship, and no, it's not with the eye toward extreme cost reduction. Or manufacturability, but yeah, I mean, companies have assembly lines. I'm so nitpicking; it's not worth arguing about.
Wait. Say that part again. What company has assembly lines? I'm confused.
Like we've seen
with
the
rockets.
ULA. Like ULA has the Atlas assembly line that they shut down. They have the Delta line that they shut down. Like it's literally an assembly line. It's not mass production on the same scale as Starship, but it's an assembly line.
Yeah, it's different assembly line versus mass production.
Right.
Like Boeing has
it's a
an assembly line, but it still takes them a while to put out a plane.
But it's for planes. Yeah, that's what I mean. You've never seen something. You've never seen that, and that's that's what I'm getting at, dude. SpaceX wants to build rockets like on the scale of mass producing or current quote unquote mass production of airplanes, like a 737 or an A320. That's really what they're targeting. Yeah, I get it. There, ULA has the rocket factory and stuff, and in Decatur, and that's awesome. It is a big factory. That's a huge facility, and it's cool seeing that. But that is not supporting the flight rate that we're going to need to see. Your Starship is going to need a flight rate like an airplane. So your assembly process is uninvented because no one's ever tried to do that. The closest thing would have been the shuttle, but that did not do that way at all.
No.
That didn't happen like that.
Stick the knife in, yeah. But if I can just answer the question that was on the screen there. The question was about slowing down. Here's the thing. Do I think they need to slow down? Yes. But there's an asterisk to that. When we're talking about slowing down with SpaceX, that's like shifting down from 6th gear to 5th gear. They're still going at a very fast pace. We're not saying slow down to the pace of other rocket companies or other producers like that. They're still going to go pretty fast, but I do think they need to take a second and make sure that all of their ducks are in a row. So that way, if they take 2-3 months now to just, work on getting Massey's rebuilt, and while they're doing that, double check all of their manufacturing, all of their welds, all of their COPVs, things like that. As soon as they do resume, which I think could be as soon as September, they can go back to, that full force, that full drive. Slowing down now so they can speed up in the future.
Yeah. I mean,
Sawyer, I think they're going to do that after Ship 38 flies, dude, to be honest with you. I think they're already doing it. I think because SpaceX is trying to go quickly with this. They're already doing that slowdown with the V3 stuff. I mean, it's no secret that Raptor 3 is taking a second, dude. But I think in the meantime, they don't want to shutter Star Factory. They don't want to shutter the line. They don't want to shutter the tile production. Like, you got to keep going. You have to keep going. And in that regard, I think that proverbial, shifting from 6th to 5th gear is going to happen after Ship 38's in the Indian Ocean or in pieces on a test stand. I don't know, either one.
I don't know. All I know is Chad is not what it's quacked up to be right now.
why is chat talking about ducks? I'm so confused.
I'm sorry, what were they talking about?
Not gonna
Somebody
do it.
said, get your ducks in a row.
Got it. Jeff Rowe, thank you for the Red Team membership gift. Moldy Space, we love you, Moldy. We love all of our supporters. Thanks for gifting a Red Team as well. Pebmets, what's up, buddy? $20 super chat, thank you. They say, would it be a good idea for the Starship program to take a brief pause? We were just talking about. Let an independent organization look over things and make recommendations to try and get things back on track. Absolutely not to the second one. Sorry, I don't think that's how you get bloat, and that's how you get things taking way longer than they should.
Who's going to monitor the monitors that monitor the monitors that monitor the monitors?
Right, and it's like designed by committee kind of thing, where you get a Bradley fighting vehicle with portholes on it, so they can stick the guns out the side, even though it's an amphibious vehicle. Some Pentagon Wars stuff. I mean, I don't mean to be too flippant with your super chat. Thank you for it. I don't see additional oversight as necessary at this point. If they keep blowing these things up for the next 2 years, maybe. Airy Guest.
That's also why SpaceX is SpaceX, because they SpaceX the SpaceX. They don't have other people try in SpaceX.
It makes almost no sense, but it actually made a lot of sense. Thank you, Sawyer.
Right.
Airy Guest saying, given reports of people getting concussions along Highway 4, should the road be closed in the future? I haven't heard reports of that. And I was a mile away, and I'm fine. It's fine.
We have proof right here.
I would be inclined to say anyone saying they got a concussion. I don't know. I haven't heard any reports of it. That's all I can say. I can only speak to my own experience. A mile away, it's fine. Pelaho Prince.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you for
mental
support.
damage was already there before. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, you guys know. You've been watching this all the weeks that I'm on. It's, like at this point, there's no change. It's just always been this way, unfortunately. Pelaho, thank you so much. They said the amount of your posts of the German press were insane. It was like everyone was happy. No company or person should be treated like that. I mean,
Let him talk, dude.
We live in difficult times, and I understand people are upset, and I understand people need an escape valve for those feelings. I just
Let
wish.
him talk, dude. Don't let him ruin your day.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Don't bother me.
It's gonna be water under the bridge ultimately. Todd Harris, thanks for the $5 tip to tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Yet another way you can support us. Goes directly to us. No middle person like Google or anybody taking a cut. So thank you, Todd, for the tip to tips.nasaspaceflight.com. They say, so we're not going to talk about the plausibility that the ULA sniper may have struck again?
Yeah,
I was
someone
there.
checked where Tori Bruno was at the time.
Hey, I was there, and unless that was a really remarkably well-suppressed 50 caliber round, I feel like I would have heard it. But hey, that's just me. Luke Barter, thank you for the support. They say they became a PadRat member. Bideford again. Thank you, Bideford. They said, I needed my Jack Sawyer and EJ tonight to bring new insight and humor to the destruction while giving us hope for the future at Massey's and Starbase. No drama queens allowed. Sorry. I am kind of a drama queen. But seriously,
Called you out.
Thank you, Bideford. Hey, again, I feel seen. No, but for real, hopefully, if nothing else, our show this week can be a place for us to sort of decompress and look forward to testing, getting back on track. Eric Frazier says RIP to the Brain Balls command with a $2 super. Eric, what are you doing? Did that command go away? That's a shame.
No, but we do have the two new
Don't worry
commands.
about
We have S36 and S36 Alt, which are both hysterical.
Oh, nice. I'll have to try those. Adrian in the store, becoming an L2 member. Nice. They say, hi, team. I think your coverage, content, and quality is fantastic. Thank you from me, Australia. You're quite welcome. Thank you for the kind words.
What?
Ninja Decimator, pew, pew, pew. With a $5 super saying, BOMV with a hot dog emoji.
Yeah, baby.
Bacon over
I'm
wrap.
making that, dude.
Bacon over wrap.
I'm making that over the weekend.
We have like 3 pounds of bacon in the fridge here. I should go get hot dogs.
Do
I'm
it.
being asked in our back
Yeah,
channel.
you need clean socks too.
I have one pair. I have another pair of clean socks. I'm good, Sawyer. I have socks to put on that are clean that will take me to the laundromat to clean the rest of my socks. I'm good to go.
We were
Thank
talking
you.
about that in the pre-show.
Oh God. Oh, now we just talked about it on the show. Thank you. I'm being asked in our back channel. The person that just became an L2 member, they need a username on the forum. You need to become a user on the forum, make a username, and then Chris B can link your L2 sub with your username. You need to make your username first, though. Chris B will see you do it, and he'll reach out. But there you go.
And that part's free.
That part is free, yeah. The forum, the NASA Spaceflight Forum, if you don't know, good shout, Sawyer, is a free forum. There's a paid section with extra fancy stuff in it called L2, which you can sign up for on shop.nasaspaceflight.com, which is exactly what that person just did. I'm sorry I lost their name, but you need to make a screen name
It was
first.
Adrian, wasn't it?
It was Adrian. Adrian had an extra A in it. WNBC. Psychological Projectionist, thank you for the super chat. They say, one day, hopefully, this will be great nostalgia. Yeah, Type 2 fun. Solid Type 2 fun. If
yeah,
you're
there's
not,
a great Bruce Springsteen line. Someday we'll look back on this and it will all seem funny.
All right, let's do some more questions. You want to do some more questions, y'all?
Nah, I'm good.
Yep.
I'll see you later.
All right, cool.
All right, bye.
No, yes.
So anyways, EJ.
Okay, banana.
Rob is asking, do we think they would fly a ship without static firing it? I certainly hope not.
No, I wouldn't. It's like what we're talking about. Like, is there weird stuff with V2? I would not do that. No, that's just that. SpaceX is less risk adverse than everybody else. They're willing to send it, as you see on the screen behind me. I don't think they'd send it like that. No way. I really don't think that's a good idea. I would rebuild the test stand.
Will they eventually? Yeah, I think eventually they'll get to a point where they don't have to static fire it.
Yeah,
what
that's a
we've
good point,
seen.
Sawyer.
Yeah, we've seen that with Falcon 9. They very rarely do it. Only, typically for something like Falcon Heavy, even sometimes for crew missions, we tend to see the static fire, which I think is more of a make NASA / international partners happy. But we will get there. Right now, though, we are definitely not at that point. And they used to do that with Falcon 9, too. They would static fire them all. Keep in mind,
Yep.
AMO 6 happened during getting ready for a test. They were cryoing it when that happened, so...
Mm-hmm.
Henry in Space is asking, where will they static fire ships in Florida? Do you think we'll just get to a point, Sawyer, where when they're launching in Florida, they are at that point where they don't need to static fire ships? Or do you think they'll build a milk stool? Milk stool!
Yes!
Let's go!
Yes! All right.
I no comment. Here's the thing. Pad 37, Slick 37 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station is freaking massive. If
Yep.
you've never looked at it from the air or seen it on a map, the videos of it look small because 37B was just in one little corner of the pad. It has a lake. It has an entire looping road around it. It is one of the largest launch pads at the Space Force Station, if not the largest. I'd have to do the exact calculations on it. They have plenty of room, at least also from what we've seen with the EIS, the environmental papers that have come out. They have plenty of room to put test stands there and not have it be in the way. So I would not be surprised if, in addition to the towers and catch stuff there, we see a potential testing stand on the far side of 37. If they end up getting something like 49, I could see that becoming a test stand. I don't ever see something like Roberts Road becoming one, but 37 I think is very plausible for testing too.
Sawyer, to piggyback off of you, it's not just the pad complex around the blast detonation area at Slick 37. SpaceX has the HIFs. They have the Delta 4 horizontal integration facility, and they have the Delta Power Station down the road. Like if you go, Carson, if you could pull the maps picture up and go to the bottom left on that picture, they have all down there. They'll build test stands down there, I'm pretty sure. Either that or they'll build them at 39A.
Yeah, because I know they're keeping the integration facilities to actually do Starship integration stuff. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, here's zoom back in on this bad puppy here. Zoom back in on this bad puppy.
Don't call Laika
Yeah, see
that.
that?
She's a good dog.
Yeah, well, they're all good dogs, Jack.
That's true.
A little bit up. Carson, go a little bit up.
Enhanced 27 to
see that?
34?
Enhance. Enhance.
Thank you,
Enhance.
EJ. I went
Sorry.
Blade Runner, you went Super Troopers.
He keeps
yeah, no, it's good, it's
enhancing
good.
though.
Yeah, no, but he's doing the right thing. Carson is nothing
Yeah,
if
no,
not
he
a
is.
professional and committed to the bit.
So this area that's kind of right here, like this
The square.
area right
The grass area.
the square hole. No, you moved off of it.
No, the
It's
grass
to the
area
north.
opposite that building.
Opposite the square
Yeah,
hole?
they want to put an air separator in there, and then that whole area right there is all SpaceX too. That is the parcel for Slick 37 per its leasing criteria. It includes that lot right there between Parcel and Cape and Samuel C. Roberts is the name of that road. No one calls it that, but or Samuel C. Phillips, not Sam Roberts. Roberts is different. That's a different Sam. So it's all that area too. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw test stands down there, But Sawyer's right. Slick 37's gigantic. Freaking gigantic. That's a huge complex. It's almost as big as 39A. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of places for a test stand.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how
Sammy
all
B.
that
Roberts
shapes
is-
out.
Sammy B. Roberts is a good destroyer. That's what that is. It's a destroyer. It's named after the guy. Sorry. History nerding out.
Straight over my head. Sorry.
No, that's
He's
good.
just
It's good.
nerding. History nerding.
We'll talk. Yeah, the U.S. Navy history. We can talk about that later.
I like
If
history.
you want.
Post show.
Yeah. DM me. If there's a
All
fat
right, we'll do-
electrician episode about it, send it to me.
I think there is actually.
There has to be. He's amazing.
Nerds.
Click,
hey. Yeah, go away, Sawyer.
No, Carson gave me on screen. Don't believe it.
Johnny Rasta asking, can they build a second
Oh, come
trench?
on.
Yeah, hey, he's gone. Can they build a second trench or stand at Massey's? I don't know, man. The space at Massey's is real tight. It's real tight. I mean, maybe. I feel like no, though.
I mean, I don't see why they couldn't. Right?
Again, it's just the space is very tight. Like maybe on the west side of Massey's, like basically adjacent to the stand that they have now for Static Fires. But I mean, there's also a cryo stand there. There's also another cryo stand there. There's also the tank farm and everything and associated infrastructure. So really, the only place I could see them doing it is to the right in this perspective of the current stand, which is right now delineated by that sort of white trench in that old.
Well, Jack, I'll tell you, now would be the time. Now would be the time if you want to put another one in there. Now's the right time to do it.
I like that Massey's has been marked as temporarily closed.
Yep.
Whoever did that, golf clap.
Yeah. Clever.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's impossible. It'd be somewhat challenging, I think. I mean, there is the whole Oxbow Lake too that kind of constrains what they can do. It's not like they can just make more land exist. Although I guess they probably could do that. They are SpaceX. That is what they've done in Boca Chica.
Dude, they just manifested an entire city. I'm pretty sure that's not a problem.
Not wrong. That's fair. Dave Dodd. I think I did that one already. Thank you, Dave Dodd, for all the good questions on this one. Espen saying, do you think SpaceX will send something with Falcon Heavy instead of Starship in the next Mars window?
No.
I think it's all in on Starship. Go ahead, sorry.
I mean, that's pretty much what Elon has said, is that it will be Starship delivering things to Mars in the windows. I mean, he laid out the plans of how much to send in each upcoming Mars window, the one that would arrive in the 26 window, the one that would arrive in 28 and 30 and so on every couple of years. They are all in on Starship to Mars. What good does sending something on Falcon Heavy prove? It doesn't prove anything. The whole point is to be able to test that in-orbit refueling, the idea to then be able to have a vehicle that is capable of traveling that far out and that long, maintain communications, then still be able to get into orbit. This serves zero purpose at that point. Let New Glenn have its escapade out to Mars this window, and then Starship take the next one.
Kind of agree.
I'm like tempted to be Mr. Counterpoint. It'd be cool. It'd be cool if they did. It'd be really cool. At the very least, send a couple Starlinks or something, and set up a communications relay around Mars. I don't know, but no. In my heart of hearts, I know that they're all in on Starship. So, half-hearted dissent there for me. Vinayak is asking, is this luck or management's fault? A lot of silence.
I've said this before. I think this is not. I don't think this is, it's this person's fault or it was an intentional sabotage or SpaceX slipping or anything like that. No. They're not slipping. They're scaling. Scaling is difficult to do in any business, let alone rocket science on top of that. If it was anybody else, I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're scaling. Yeah, okay. But, the guy running the company has some experience with that, with scaling a product. He's a lot of experience with that. So I think this is just, in the same way that early Teslas, right, had panel gap problems. If you're a car guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a lot of quality problems, but SpaceX. Tesla kept making them, and they kept making them, and now they're really, really nice cars, like really nice cars. They'll get it. They'll get it eventually. I ain't worried. I don't think you guys should be either.
Lol, it was in that sentence.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Cybertruck panel gaps, my guy?
Yeah.
Hey, that's because it's a new product. Stuff like little things happen anytime you're trying to scale a product. It does, it doesn't matter if it's that this stuff happens. The thing is, we see it very publicly because, if a car has bad panel gap, and the average person doesn't notice that going down the road, but then, when what happens behind me happens, like you said, a lot of people notice, right? But because you're trying to mass produce these things and you're trying to scale and you're trying to keep the line going at the same time while the factory is quite actually being built around it, I don't think this is like one particular person's fault. SpaceX has got to learn how to make these things like airplanes. That no one's ever done that hasn't been done. So you're gonna run into problems here. This is not even a problem the Apollo engineers had to deal with. Like, they're standing on their own. You're not standing on the shoulders of giants anymore. This is not something that you can turn to NASA and be like, hey, how do we do this? NASA would be like, mass production? What's that? We like making one of something and then sending it and then just never doing that again.
Hate that so much.
They made 6 shuttles, 5 of
Should've
which were space worthy.
Should have made 20. Should have made 20.
Should have made 50.
Should have made 50. Should have flown them for like 20 years and then been like, all right, let's make a version 2 that's actually good this time.
The space shuttle should be doing what Falcon 9 is doing right now.
Agreed.
It should have been doing that if they just follow through. But they refuse to acknowledge the stakeholder expectations of the vehicle. The shuttle was supposed to be mass produced. It was supposed to be an airplane that flies into space. You're supposed to be taken off once a week to space, 25 tons every week into orbit, right? A market will be generated from that. That was the whole idea.
What, literally
then
just
Challenger
shuttle
happened.
things to low Earth orbit and back, right?
That's the whole point, right? And then, unfortunately, Challenger happened because of some bad programmatic decisions. And then the reaction to that was to take your space shuttle and operate it like it's the Apollo CSM. Everybody says that the space shuttle's a semi-truck, right? It's a semi-truck that moves freight up into space, right? You don't go camping in a semi-truck. They started treating it like an RV. And if you don't use it like a semi-truck, it's not going to be very good at what it does. Right? If they should have kept going, they should have kept pursuing. They shouldn't have taken their foot off the gas. Now, once again, it's easy, that I'm not trying to disparage the Challenger 7 or anything like that. One of the teacher in space, she actually is from my state, didn't grow up that far away from me. So I'm not trying to disparage that or anything, but that happened because there were programmatic problems with the program. I don't see those same programmatic problems at SpaceX, but here's the thing. With NASA, they're very transparent about this stuff. SpaceX is not. We don't know what's going on day to day. All we can do is kind of point cameras at the hardware and try and figure it out from there, right? So maybe not. I don't think so. I think this is a result of them trying to scale up. I think they have big plans for Starship, and I think this whole thing is just going to be a little blip in the road, like how we think about SN4. When this happened, I was like, oh man, this is like SN4. And a lot of people said, wait, what? What do you mean? What do you mean SN4? What happened with SN4? You didn't remember that they obliterated a test stand and had it going again like a month later with SN5, right? It's just scaling up. And that's what I mean. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal. You got to keep going.
What do we think is the long pull? Is it ship 37 mitigations and repairs and checkouts, or is it rebuilding Massey's? Sawyer, what do you think is a long pull at this point?
Oh, I think it's Massey's for sure.
Yep.
I mean, because they're still probably working on countermeasures or fixes after Flight 9. Because there is still, keep in mind, an open FAA investigation for the reentry portion of ship on Flight 9. There is no FAA investigation into what happened at Massey's. So they're still already working on making the changes to 37. So it's not like it's hard for them to, while we're already changing things to fix the problems we had, let's add X or Y fix that we find from this. That you can keep doing because you're already working on it. Now you're finally just letting people get in about now to go and see how bad it is, find out what exactly is damaged, what's going to need to be redone, planning out how to get it redone, getting the materials for it, doing the manufacturing for it, replacing the old stuff, putting in the new stuff, testing it, making sure all of that works. You haven't started any of that yet, so I still think it's Massey's.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. Oh man, I just still can't believe that happened.
2 days
Like-
ago, under 48 hours ago.
It's all a blur. Like we've all been working our tails off in our respective roles, and it's hard to even somebody in chat asked if I remember the pressure waves hitting me. Nope. I mean, I remember the sound hitting. I remember being like, wow, that was really loud. I don't distinctly remember like a pressure wave. In the same way, I don't distinctly remember feeling heat from the fire.
You were also a mile away, and thankfully the wind was blowing in a different direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's just so weird how stuff like that works. Like, I wish I could remember. I really do. Like, I wish I could remember the pressure wave hitting me. I wish I could remember exactly how it felt in the moment. Nope, just a blur. No Good God is asking, if a Starship full stack exploded on the pad, would that be the largest non-nuclear explosion ever made? It depends on how you define explosion. If you were theoretically able to perfectly stoichiometric, I think that's the word, mix all of the oxygen and all of the methane in a full stack, yes, that could hypothetically produce the largest non-nuclear explosion ever made, if I remember reading that correctly somewhere. Thing is just look at the exact failure that we saw with Ship 36. That was a completely imperfect mixing of the methane and oxygen, and as a result, we didn't get a detonation. We didn't even really technically get an explosion. It was much more of a deflagration. So it's hard. It's hard to quantify what a full stack going pop on the pad would be like or would do. If you're it's like assume a spherical cow. Assume perfect mixing. Yeah, it would be very bad. You're not ever going to get perfect mixing. I mean, what is a Raptor engine if not a machine that is actually designed to get as close to perfect mixing as possible? But yeah, it would be bad. It would obviously be very, 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 very bad. Yeah. And sort of speaking of very bad, do we think the Starship program is in crisis? Would you say that the Starship program is in crisis, CJ?
No, not at all. Why? No way. No, man.
I reckon you get your butt kicked saying something like that.
Get your butt kicked saying something like that, man. No, what's wrong?
No, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions,
man.
There's the Pez door, by the way.
Yeah, that is the door.
Is,
that's the door opening right there.
Yeah.
On the right, yeah.
Can't say enough. Fantastic work from everybody. Caesar, D, Jerry, just great, absolutely great work covering this.
Yeah. Oh, D's photography is absolute cinema.
There's a reason they call him DY Cinema.
Yep. There you go. No, I don't think the Starship program is in crisis. Not at all. No way. Dude, once again, man, they want to build thousands of these things. This is just a blip on the radar. A year from now in this time, like, granted some catastrophic event doesn't happen that SpaceX stops. A year from now at this time, dude, this will be like, hey, remember when that thing blew up? Yeah, that's cool. Just like we're saying, hey, remember when Almost 6 happened? Or remember when CRS-7 happened?
Yeah.
Or remember when SN4 exploded or SN3 crumbled? Like, it's just another bump in the road. But you're going to get that because, once again, you're in uncharted territory. No one's ever tried to make something like this. You're bound to have problems. It's not something you could be like, oh, yes, this has been done before, And I think that's cool. That's awesome. This is why I'm so confident about this, guys, because you're seeing a company push the forefront of push the envelope for like physics here. No one's ever tried to make this. People said that this was impossible. Even 5 years ago, people still say it's impossible. People said landing a booster was impossible. Reusing it is impossible. Look at all this stuff that they've done. The track record speaks for itself. They've had seemingly insurmountable challenges to physics here. And why would you bet against SpaceX at this point? Why would you do that?
That's a losing bet for sure. That's
right?
a losing bet.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Sawyer.
Also, by the way, you said it was a blip on the radar. Goes 19 captured it. It was legit a blip.
A blip on the radar.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd do that, man. I was hoping.
I was waiting until you finished because you were on a really good roll there.
It's like that time Booster 7 exploded and there was a literal dumpster fire. This is a literal blip on the radar. Sawyer,
That's awesome.
what do you think this means though for like Mars and Artemis? Is this a blip or is this a bump or is it a crevasse?
Wow, a crevasse, fancy.
I don't know. I don't know. I have nightmares of falling into crevasses. Don't worry about it.
Or a crevice. I think I'm gonna go that this is probably not a crevice. I don't think it's a blip. I think it's a bump. I think it's significant enough to call it a speed bump. You know, they're gonna slow down. It's gonna jostle some people as you go over it. Their guts will be turned upside down because you sped over it way too fast. But then you'll be fine. So I think I'll call it a speed bump then in this case. It's not the end of the program, that's for sure. Like you said, we'll absolutely be seeing, looking back on this and going, oh yeah, I remember that. We'll be looking at it in the brand new intro that Jack is working on. Wink, wink.
Oh.
I'm so
But-
mad at you right now. I can't even think.
I love you too. But I mean, yeah, this is a speed bump. It's not horrendous. It's not the end of a program. It's a slowdown.
How much failure do we think is tolerable in terms of the stakeholders that exist? Whether that's the VC, equity that gets pumped into SpaceX every time they do a funding round, or whether that's NASA or the DoD or the government. Like, how much of these sorts of failures, like, can they keep blowing this stuff up and they're bulletproof? Is there a limit? I don't know. What do you think, EJ? Like, how much of this is acceptable? Like, if it keeps going this way, which we don't think any of us think is going to, but like, at what point do you think we would start seeing like meaningful pushback?
I don't think you would.
Period? Like at all?
Really?
How you asked how many of these things need to blow up? Well, enough to make the thing work, right? Think about that for a second. I really chose those words pretty. I didn't choose those words lightly. How many of them need to blow up? Enough for it to complete its stakeholder expectations here. SpaceX is running hardware rich. I don't know, Jack. I don't know if there's a number for it, but it's however many you need to fly before you get the thing to work. Meaning that your whole subset of ships blowing up, like, we won't know that until the thing works. How many of them need to fail? Enough for it to work.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Does that make sense?
But as long as you're making progress, that's the thing. You can blow up, you can have your bumps, but you have to show progress. If you're just blowing up and not learning from it, that's one thing. So as long as there is progress coming from these, then I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I should have probably mentioned that too. How many of them need to blow up? Enough for it to work. As long as you're making forward progress, the ball's moving down the field and you're not the Jets, it's fine.
Thanks.
Gotcha, man.
That hurt.
Sorry, I kind of felt bad.
All right, we are coming up on the end of the show here. I do want to thank a couple more people for their support. Pebmets with another $20 super. Thank you so much, buddy. We really cannot do this stuff without everyone coming out and supporting us. Doesn't have to be a monetary thing. Just hit the like button or tell your friends about us. But the people that do support us monetarily, it's like a big crowd-funded, distributed news blob. I don't know. Thank you, Pebmets. They say, I'm sorry, I was around for shuttle at the start. Engineers learned stresses on the hardware from launch and flight were greater than predicted, impacting quick turnaround. Possible Starship may have the same issue. Yeah, but they're gonna iterate. They're not just gonna build one Starship design and say this is it forever. They're gonna iterate. That's why we're all so stoked, right?
Pep, that's the reason why I don't think this is a big deal. They're testing with nobody around. Nobody's in the loop. There's nobody on board. Blow as many of those things up as you need to, so you don't do a Challenger, so you don't do a Columbia. That would be a like career-ending thing. Don't do that. SpaceX put themselves into a place where they can maximize the outcome and minimize risk. There's a trade-off there. The trade-off is cash, but that's something I don't think they need to worry about. They got a lot of runway, even though it, doesn't need a runway to land. Financially, they got a big runway. I ain't worried about it, dude.
Drew Nar, thank you for the super. They say a second static fire stand or its tank farm at Massey's would have been compromised by a ball of fire. Anyway, Optimus needs testing on Mars, just saying. That would be cool if they yeeted a bunch of Optimus robots on Falcon Heavy. All right.
I'd be down for that.
I'd be kind of okay with that.
Yeah, same.
Well, y'all, I'm sure you've seen our footage out there on all of the various news orgs. Thank you for the support, because there are a lot of creators and news agencies using our stuff without permission, and we've been working around the clock chasing all that down. We appreciate all of our members and viewers who alert us to that stuff happening, and we appreciate you guys being the fuel in our engines that allows us to do what we do, especially our launch directors and especially our flight engineers. We're out there day in, day out. We have 24/7 live streams. We're out there, rain, shine, whether that stuff's working right, whether it's blowing up, what have you. We don't mess around, and we'll keep doing it. When we'll be there for the failures. We're always there. We'll be there for the successes. And with your support and continued love, we're going to keep doing it. So thank you for all the support. EJ, man, thanks for being on this week.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a privilege being on here, guys. And I don't take it lightly. I try to bring my A game when I come in here. I'm sorry if I get a little, it seems like I get a little annoyed, right? But trust me, I want to bring good counterpoints. I want to give you guys a good conversation. I want to make your Friday night better, keep you entertained. Okay? I stream on Twitch. If you want to check me out over there, twitch.tv/EJ_SA. And Jack, thank you for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Sawyer, thanks for being on as well with Jake as well.
My absolute pleasure. I mean, after you and I and Max were on that night, I was excited for Flame Trench so we could kind of look back on it now. But hey, Jack, we were on the news, and so hopefully we can be a bright spot in everyone's day, just like Ship 36 was a bright spot on our video.
And in my video, yeah, oh God. Also, speaking of the news, we have This Week in Spaceflight premiering right now, so we're going to redirect you to This Week in Spaceflight. Like is going to say hi. Carson, thank you for operating on the stream, and follow us on all the socials. As soon as we know more about what happened with Ship 36, we'll tell you. Until the next time, thanks for watching The Flame Trench. Go watch Twists. No, don't.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up.
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off.
It's orange!
R45. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Decollage! Look at this! Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Sup?
That went pretty well, actually, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man.
I don't know what I was expecting,
Did it?
but it wasn't that, and it was great.
Yeah. Is Jack alive or?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
Jack got a swift kick to the.
Oh, nice, dude. Nice. Let's go. Tier 2 60-month resub. You got your worm, dude. Nice. See the next 5 years. I'll be here, dude. I'll be here. What's up, Membies? You guys don't think I went a little hard there for a second? Was it good?
It was fine.
Oh. Yeah, okay, cool.
It's just a bump in the road, is what I said. It was a good comparison. It's like Highway 4 right now.
Dude, it's just a bump in the road, man. It's no problem. Stuff blows up, dude, when you're pushing the frontier like this. This happens. Deal with it. You know, everyone's like,
Can you hear me now?
It's so over. I'm like, nah,
Can you hear
not
me
you
now?
guys.
Yeah.
Jack!
Jack! Hello, Jack!
My laptop got down to 1% battery because I'm a dum-dum and didn't have it plugged in.
Oof.
Oh, no.
And so everything went slow motion glitch mode. And I was like, why computer no work good? Turns out it needs electricity to work good.
That would have been one way to end
Yeah.
the flame charge.
Yeah, true. Just battery dies.
Well, so I'm plugged into a Thunderbolt dock. So it's getting enough power on the Thunderbolt dock to live, but nothing else.
Yeah.
But I'm plugged in now. What's up, Membies? I hope that was a fun show. It felt like a good show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't like take us around the, I don't know, carousel too many times on any of those points.
Didn't either.
Did Jack just drop out of Discord?
I don't think you did.
He did.
Jackie.
We can't hear you, mate. We can't hear you.
There we go.
Hi, Jack.
I'm so good at computer, you guys.
You have to get back into Discord. You have to talk there.
I'm so good at computer.
You're the best at computer.
For real though, I hope that was a good show. Like, all we can do is talk about what happened and hopefully have some fun and bring a little bit of levity to the situation, right? Were you surprised to hear yourselves on the news? Nope. I don't
No,
want to
not
sound
at
like
all. It was just a matter of which news organizations we were going to hear and which ones were going to properly reach out and or credit us.
Yeah, I think when Alpha exploded on Flight 1, the Colbert Report or the Colbert Show or the Today Show with Colbert, one of those.
He either did the Colbert Report or the Late Show.
Yeah, one of the two. Like it's happened before. It's always kind of weird, but not really surprising. Every time I'm like, I should have said something more intelligent.
Dude, have you seen the Falcon Heavy footage, the Falcon Heavy test flight footage with me and Das? Have you seen that footage?
No, I'm not saying.
Talk about saying something more intelligent. I was just screaming into the mic the whole time. I was like,
this is not an indictment of anybody else's reactions on anybody else's video. This is all just my own insecurity.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like you're not expecting anything to happen, and then the whole ship just explodes. It's like at that point, a lot of stuff goes up. It feels like everything goes out the window.
Yeah, but like we're broadcast professionals and we have protocols in place for when something like that happens and what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do. And I'm definitely not supposed to go, whoa, ship 36 just exploded.
Well, here's the thing. It's very different if it's a crew launch. That we have a written exactly what to do, what not to do, what to say. In that instance, when there's not people there, it's one thing, plus you're seeing it with your eyes as the initial reaction. That's just part of it. And then immediately afterwards, I think you'll notice if you watch it back, I made my one joke, and then the rest of the 2 hours was pure seriousness.
Yeah, and you know, 100%. If that had been accrued anything, the whole broadcast would have been a different vibe.
Yep.
And you know, I wouldn't have said a damn thing. But it was a Starship prototype test, so. And yeah, and it was my genuine reaction was, whoa, it just blew up.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Chat, Membies, Twitchies, do we not talk about anything this week that you wished we had talked about?
BOLE's test is scheduled to happen next week. That's kind of cool.
Schedule willing, Max and I are
Bully,
going to
bully,
that.
bully.
Bowl.
Really
Bowl, baby,
excited.
bowl.
I freaking love Utah. Utah is the
But-
best.
but it's
Bully
gonna
will probably
conflict.
never fly, but it is really cool anyway.
But it's going to conflict with Starship.
That was a legitimate worry for the
It
last,
was.
for the last 2 weeks. That was a legitimate like grinding anxiety in my conscious mind. It's just like, oh, I want to go to this thing, but I don't want to miss Starship. Oh, and then now it's no longer an issue.
You know,
Michael, BOLE, BOLE, Booster Obsolescence Life Extension Program. It's the upgrade to the SRBs that are used on the SLS. They have casings, the steel casings with shuttle heritage, all the way up to Artemis 8, I think it is. And then Artemis 9 and beyond, they would need to start using this new BOLE, BOLE booster, which uses a carbon composite case, electric thrust vector control, a bunch of other fun stuff and improvements, more performance, better propellant grain, all that stuff. But
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Northrop Grumman.
SRBs.
So yeah, that's what that is. Northrop Grumman has a facility that they bought along with Orbital ATK, who was the contractor that was making the boosters before Northrop brought them, and they have a facility out in Promontory, Utah. Yes, Promontory of Golden Spike fame. Transcontinental Railroad fans out there, all my nerd history friends.
I like trains.
In Promontory, there is a rocket garden where they have a shuttle SRB and a whole bunch of other missiles and solid fueled things. And they have a test site where they can test a full solid rocket booster.
By the way, it was Thiokol, then it was Morton Thiokol, then it was ATK, then it was Orbital ATK, then it was Northrop Grumman.
Northrop Grumman Space Systems.
Yeah, that.
EJ, you see anybody on Twitch asking for something we didn't talk about that they want us to talk about?
Honda rocket.
What?
Honda
rocket. Honda rocket. I totally intended to hit a couple things like the Kuiper date and the Honda rocket thing, but we got onto a roll. And
No,
it just
dude,
sort
it's
of
good.
just sort of kept going.
That was the right move.
Honda rocket was sick.
Dude, Honda rocket was cool.
I forget if it was you or if it was somebody else. Maybe it was Berger that said Honda or car companies are not in the business of making single-use hardware or something along those lines. It's like, yeah.
I think it was Stephen Clark that said that.
Yeah, it's really good. I like that. I like that line of thinking.
That is true. That's a really good way to think of it. He's not wrong.
Hey, they make good cars too. So,
Also, the assembly line memes have been fire. It's like Honda Civics, and then it's the rocket. I guess we're doing rockets now.
Guess
I
we're
guess
doing
we're a
that
rocket
now.
company now, yeah.
A Twitch viewer is disappointed that I didn't mention the butt fumble because Sawyer's a Jets fan.
The what?
Mark Sanchez. I forget if it was Sunday or Monday Night Football. Mark Sanchez.
Hey man,
they
it's a family
snapped the
show.
ball, he fumbled it, so he picked it up and went face first into the ass of his center. I think it was Nick Mangold.
Yep. And then fumbled the ball. The Patriots recovered and scored a touchdown.
Well, that's what it was. Yeah. He fumbled it after hitting into his guy's ass.
Yeah, he tripped and he went face first, right into the cheeks. It's really funny, actually.
This has me thinking. I wonder when they'll roll out 15-2 to static fire over the next 2 months. Because you might as well get it over with. The pad's ready for a launch. You might as well static fire the booster.
Well, I mean, it depends on how long. I guess if they have a requirement time from what they would consider be within inside a healthy static fire compared to still being valid. Since I think that would be most likely the 11th flight, and then there's probably gonna be another, Elon time from 2 weeks after this next flight, which that's a few months away now.
I mean, I look at this and I think what they're going to try to do, they'll try to get the cryo stands up and running the first, so you can get 30 8 cryoed, and you can get it ready to keep testing B18.1 and test B18 whenever it's ready. And then you focus on which it won't be ready before Massey's is finished at this rate. And then you finish the static fire stand. Then basically 37 and 38 both have engines and both are ready for static fire. So we might have back-to-back ship static fires with boosters ready, and all it is you got to turn the pad around. So they might actually hit that quickest turnaround time by the time they finally get Massey's fixed.
Yeah, remember we were talking about that earlier in that stream? There's a lot of things we were talking. Someone also pointed out, because it was all such a blur, like, remember you were talking about drinking hose water?
EJ's like, what
Hose water
is going on?
We talked about drinking hose water on the Static Fire stream.
Because someone asked if the water that they use for the static fire at Massey's, is it potable? Is it city water? Is it potable? Is it what? And like, probably not potable, but it's probably like drinking from a hose. And we got into a whole discussion about how bad that is.
It's potable water that's been through an industrial process. We've been over this.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
no,
is
we answered the
no
legit
longer.
question, but it then became discussion of drinking water from a hose.
Yeah, I got
and
you. No, I got you.
We went into a whole deal about popping hydrants and drinking hose water and how you'd probably be
I would
sick
not do
from it
that.
and all that.
I wouldn't drink from a fire hydrant, dude, because those lines need to be blown out constantly.
Yeah, when
because
you
there's
when
no
you see
water in
someone
them.
crack one and it's like all brown for like 5
Yeah,
minutes.
you don't. Yeah, you don't want to drink from that.
No.
But we've all drunk hose water. Let's be real.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Maybe that's why we are the way we are.
That's exactly why.
probably
Like I
why-
was saying,
exactly why
from a
we
garden
are.
hose.
mine was in suburban New Jersey.
Suburbsy.
Hey, suburbsy.
Thank you. Thank you, EJ.
Suburbsy.
Yeah, I got you, man.
EJ's the-
Suburbsy.
EJ and Sawyer, both of you are like the king of yes and, which just makes this show just so unhinged. Because I will just be like, oh, I could somehow tie this into this weird obscure thing, and then you both yes and me, and then we talk about hose water for 20 minutes.
Third place in group improv, baby, in high school.
I just watched too many movies, so
Also-
I know
also,
I know
yes.
how to do that.
Yes, and you mean Jack.
Yes and.
Do I think they might tweak Massey's to allow for a full duration static fire? Yes, Bob. They put a. If you look at the pictures of the pad of Massey's blown up, there's a gigantic methane tank.
Thank God that wasn't
that-
hooked up.
Yeah, that's not hooked up, right? But it's enough. It's enough to do full duration. I have a feeling that they were actually.
There's a lot of problems with full duration, though. There's several problems with it.
Yeah, well, Ryan, that's what I'm thinking, dude. Okay, all right. Brainwave here. Brainwave. Do you think they did screw with the testing criteria for this thing? You think they did it on purpose because they knew they were going to redo Massey's because the tank is staged there?
Well, that tank is they've been ready to put that new tank in for a couple of months now, and they just haven't done it yet. They built the embeds for that tank like 4 or 5 months ago. At this point, they've basically been planning for this expansion for a while. My guess is they just want to do maybe even longer durations ones, but they're gonna have to. I think they'll have to expand their water there. They've had to do repairs every time they've done a long duration static fire for a minute. They've had to do repairs on Massey's.
Yeah.
Like they. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're only going to do a minute. I think the whole point of expanding the amount of methane is so they don't have to refill it so often. Because they do plan on static firing again and again and again because they're going to build a lot of ships. So, but you don't want to refill it as often, so stick another tank there with a bunch of more methane. That's why they expanded their lock storage there as well. They added a bunch more locks there. So, in theory, they could have a booster, a ship. They could have a booster and 2 ships at Massey's and still have more than enough propellant to static fire and cryo test 2 vehicles, is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Me too, Michael. Me too.
I don't know. They'll have it. They should. I think it's just going to be sourcing parts is what's going to take a little bit of, the control bunker for the static fire stand. That might be probably the longest lead item to get. Those are like pre-built things, and they're not like easy to get. That you have to like specialty order those.
You think they have any ship QDs in Florida they can yoink?
I
No.
doubt it.
They have
Bigger,
one
maybe.
near the inventory tent, and then the other one you could grab is you could go cryo 38 and then take the one off the cryo stand and use that. Because they're going to have to switch the cryo stand one anyways for Block 3, so you might as well just take it. So they have two, technically, they could use.
Oh, man. So weird. Like, I don't want any setbacks to any space program. I don't want, obviously, anybody to get hurt. I've always said, even before I was chasing rockets full time, like, seeing explosions is cool. I want to see cool things. I'm down to see explosions as long as nobody gets hurt.
Well, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a monkey paw situation. Like, I totally got it, and it's not the first time it's happened. I've seen plenty of explosions in this business. Did I experience it? Not even close. Do I remember it? I remember seeing a bright white light and changing my camera settings.
It is weird to be trying to watch a static fire of a ship and then you see a mushroom cloud on stream, as Jay was saying. And it's like, I don't really want to see that again.
It's just like I was there.
Yeah.
I was a mile away. And if you asked me, it's like, you know what they say about like eyewitness testimonies, like notoriously fallible. It's like anything I told you about what I experienced or saw beyond the vaguest things, I could not legitimately vouch for. I could make stuff up and be like, yeah, I felt the heat. It was crazy. I got a concussion. No, it was bright. It was bright. It was loud. That's about what I remember.
Yeah, there wouldn't be much of. There'd still obviously be a pressure wave because it's still an explosion, but there wouldn't.
Yo,
be,
who said they had a concussion? Was somebody? Is that like legitimately somebody said they had a concussion? Because that's absurd.
I gotta get it. You're not.
Whoever it was must have had a concussion from
man.
something else beforehand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You ain't getting a concussion from that, dude. I've been concussed before. I got knocked out on the football field in high school, man. That you're not getting concussed from a pressure wave from like 3 miles away. That's not happening.
They were on Highway 4.
That's
most
Highway
of
4
the
Massey's is 2 miles, dude.
I'm not gonna lie, we were too close. I have a light concussion, and debris field could have been a different direction. I'll likely not be watching static fires from Highway 4 again. To each their own. I mean, I did not have that vibe. Hang on, let me look at maps.
The,
I mean, I'm not, if it was too much for anybody, that I get it. That's fine. I'm not trying to hate.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It's surprising to me. Like I don't see how you could be concussed from that.
A concussion comes from impact, screwing around with the juice, the juice that your brain is filled up with. I mean, there's a better way to say it.
Don't say brain juice. That's gross.
Brain juice. It's
Gross.
fluid. There's fluid that your brain is kind of submerged in. All right, moving that around and having the brain touch the side of the
it hits
pole,
the inside of the skull. Yeah,
it's not good for you. This has happened to me.
Okay, yeah, the concussion comes from your brain literally smashing against your skull. Like literally, like it bruising it is basically.
I don't know, unless they like the sound wave hit them and they like fell over and like tripped and head butted the car or something. Like took a dinger on the way down. Like I'm not a doctor, but dude, I've been concussed. I've seen stars. Like there's no way you had that from sound. Like, but Jack, I think in the same breath, it's absolutely right. Like it's a loud noise. People aren't used to that. It's a really loud noise. It's a very intense situation. Like I get people like if it's not for you, it's not for you. But don't go around being like, "Oh, I got a concussion." No, you didn't.
I was I was approximately 1.4 miles away. The location of most people for static fires at Massey's is just off Highway 4 about, what is that, 2.6?
Cheeky.
No, 1.5. So yeah, about the same distance. I was a little bit closer,
Cheek.
but not by much. Not by anything, by an appreciable amount.
Oh my gosh.
According to
I
ChatGPT,
can breathe again. I'm not breathing cat hair. Sorry, continue.
according to
What, Carson?
ChatGPT, is very unlikely to get a concussion or a mild concussion from an explosion more than a mile away. Especially since, like, I mean, this
There was
was
no-
it was a large
There was no
explosion.
shockwave.
It wasn't
But-
concussive, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, that's-
Panaman.
that's-
I think what Panaman said over my chat, probably just the adrenaline making people feel stuff they don't really feel. I think it's a very, very
I couldn't
very
sleep. I
astute
couldn't
thing
sleep.
saying that you were in shock, like
Yeah.
like not like actual shock, like your body went into overdrive and your adrenaline
Okay.
starts going.
Yeah,
No
it's
doubt, you
adrenaline.
sit there and you're like, oh my god, like no doubt.
I mean, I said
that
it on
happened.
stream. I was shaking, and that night
Yeah.
I could not go to sleep. Like I was in bed at like 6 a.m. Like, what do I do now?
Dude, once the adrenaline kicks in, you're gonna be up for a little while. It's like it's
I don't know.
better than caffeine.
It's just it's like I don't want to. If someone isn't feeling good after that, I'm not. I hope they get whatever sorted and see a doctor or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know. That's. I worry about reports like that. Adding to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that we see.
That's what I
from-
mean about saying it's not a concussion. I'm not trying to downplay that what that person saw or anything like that. I ain't trying to downplay it, but no, there's no dude. Unless you have some like pre-existing condition, there's no way you're getting a concussion from that far away from an explosion. It's not happening. Like
I'll say it again.
don't try to drum it up to make to
Right.
make it sound crazier than it is. We just saw the explosion. It was crazy.
I'll say it again. I at no point felt unsafe, and I cannot stress enough. I'm not trying to be Mr. Brave guy. I just didn't feel unsafe at any point. The two concerning things were, oh look, there's flaming debris climbing into the sky. I need to be aware of where that's going. None of it came towards me. Wasn't a concern. And then the plume, and like the plume was moving perpendicular to me. If the wind had shifted, I would have moved. But yeah, I don't know. At no point did I feel unsafe. In fact, I felt like, wow, I'm sure glad they have a nice big clear zone around Massey's, because holy cow, imagine if this had been not this way. Imagine if there had been launch crowds at the ranch and at Isla Blanca and all over South Padre Island. Like, that could have been bad. If it was bigger and a full stack, that could have been scary. That could maybe give you a concussion if it mixed just right, et cetera, et cetera.
Plus, then you have
Anyway.
the rush of people running away and potential trampling and traffic and yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, don't even want to think about that with the one bridge out of South Padre. Yeah, that's bad. That's a bad time.
Just a heads up, I have a hard out in like 3 minutes, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah,
Head out.
should probably pack it in, man.
All good, dudes. I really enjoy doing this every week. I really enjoyed this week especially.
Yeah. Amazing that we were able to talk 2.5 hours about one topic, but yeah.
It was one of those shows where it was just like, it's done. It's gone.
Flew by,
Two
yeah.
and a half hours in a blink. One of those ones that's just easy to do for whatever reason.
I like what Loco said in the members about concussions. Did you read that one, Jack? I love
I'm looking.
concussions. They're fun. Usually means I was doing something cool and I got them.
Yeah, Loco and I are friends. I just know that. There's like a kindred. There's like a bond. There's a bond there. I've had, I don't know why I'm saying this, I have had at least 4 really bad concussions, like amnesia level concussions.
You're saying it because you've been concussed and you forgot that it's not a good idea to talk about being concussed.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I've had like 4 at least, like really bad concussions, like amnesia level concussions. Don't recommend.
Yeah, no, dude, I've had my crap pushed in enough to know that you're not getting that from that.
Jack.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I've had like 4 like really serious concussions, like
Huh.
amnesia level concussions.
funny because he's saying it again as if he forgot that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. One, I was wrapped up in tape and going downstairs, and then didn't know what was going on for the next 2 days. One, brother threw a rock at my head while we were having a gravel fight, like you do, and I had to
Like
get
you
7
do.
stitches and don't remember anything for a couple of days around that. One was
He's forgetting now.
and then the third one, and then the fourth one was
Well done, well done.
oh wow.
All right, I'm gonna head on out.
Love you,
Thank
buddy.
you,
I hope you're doing good.
Membies. Yeah, same. Hey, Jack, we were on the news.
Hey Sawyer, did you know I've had like 4 like really bad?
Oh,
Have a good night, man.
You
Get some grub.
too. Bye, Membies. Thank you for a great show, everybody. Oh, what face should I do? What face should I do?
Concussion face.
Jeez. Just gotta hold your head.
Hang on.
I'm not gonna lie, dude.
A plus, dude. A plus.
Kind of looks like
10
you're trying to. Kind of looks like he's trying to take a dump.
10 out of 10. No notes. What? No, he does. What kind of dumps are you taking, my guy? And don't answer that.
EJ, you okay?
Cuttlefish and asparagus.
Oh,
There it
God.
comes.
Oh,
Oh, it's
God.
going to be a rot.
Oh God. All right, I'm gonna go walk this dog. She's going crazy. Thanks for being on, EJ. Always a treat. Treat yourself well,
Jack's
please.
always fun. Yeah, I'll try.
I hope your back feels better, man.
Bye,
Oh,
Ted.
thanks, man. Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be good.
Cool deal. Thanks, Mambies. You're the best. Literally can't do this without you guys. We mean it.
Yep.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good. Following up.
Tango down to nominal.
It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Okay. All right. Brimo's here.
Hi.
All right, guys. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I haven't eaten anything today. We went basically right from Kerbal right into Flame Trench. So I'm going to go grab a bite, and I will be back for GTA Racing in an hour.
Is that a Buffalo Wild Wings?
No. What?
I wanted mozzarella sticks.
We're going to do GTA Racing tonight. Yeah, it starts at about 9. Everybody's welcome to join. It's on 5M. If you want to know how to do it, head on to the Discord. There's a tutorial in the GTA section over there. So I will be back then. Interested in anything from the auction. Local cities doing auction stuff. Plenty of trucks and utility beds. Good for a camera crew. Show me and we'll talk. All right. I will see you guys in a little bit. I'm going to go grab a bite. And yeah, I'll be back in an hour. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in a little bit.
Bye, chat.